delivery drivers.
That's right. Those that work
HVAC workers, anybody who's got to be like, on the road and anything in between. I will say the only downside, I think, to what you're describing, which is, like better preparedness, is sometimes like we never got the like accidental call off, right? Where you'd be like, hey, we think it's going to be real bad. Yeah. And we're doing it. Because if you woke up and they were like, not that bad, get your ass to school. Like you didn't get the like, oh, it wasn't as bad as we thought. Because we always remember those, like, you'd think, you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to get the snow day. I'm going to get the snow day. And then you're like, damn, didn't snow as bad as I thought. Like, today doesn't seem like it snowed quite as bad as people thought it could be. Mm-hmm. Still not great or anything.
The roads aren't cleared fully yet, though. That's the thing. Yeah,
for sure. But it was always like, it had a little more leeway. My kids are fully off. No virtual school this day. Just a true, full, actual snow day.
Yeah, so stay safe out there, and if you don't have to get out, all the normal stuff, right? I will say you guys can, of course, interact with us on the Jay's Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. Shout out to Jay's Southland Tow Service. Yes, I had to call him yesterday, Cody.
You had to call him?
Yeah, shout out to Alan with Jay's Southland Tow Service. We mention them all the time as our text line sponsor. So I mentioned to you, I didn't say it on the show, but I knew that I needed a new battery for my car, right? And
you had plans to go get it fixed yesterday.
And someone was like, well, why did you have an appointment? Well, the battery was under warranty, so I wanted to go to the same place I got it so I could fulfill the warranty and not have to pay for a new battery, frankly, right? Makes sense?
Yeah, sure.
So I went 2 days ago to that place, and they couldn't get me in yet. They're like, all right, we'll get you in tomorrow. And I knew I knew the battery was a problem. Because yesterday morning, it barely started. All right? Like, I was like, so I get into work yesterday. I'm like, I just need you to start one more time so I can go from the show to the auto place that I go to. One more time. Sure enough, I get out there because it starts to get cold. Nope, completely dead. Wouldn't turn over.
Was it making that clicking sound?
Click,
like
click,
click,
click, click,
click, click, click. Oh boy, that's a bad feeling.
Drew was out there. He was nice enough to help, and Logan, our part-time host. You guys know.
It was really all Logan. I was just there.
Well, fair enough. But it was cold out. You stood out there.
You didn't. You didn't leave him high and dry. You made sure.
And so Logan tried to. We tried to jump it. And it was so dead that didn't work. So I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So then I'm like, is it worse than the battery? So I called our friends over at Jay Southland Tow. They were out there in like 30 minutes and jumped that bad boy right away. And then I drove to where I needed to be, the auto place, and they're like, this is a bad battery. And it was under warranty, and we're good to go. Thank goodness. Just in time before the winter storm. So shout out to them.
I would have stuck around. Nobody asked me to. I just left.
Well, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was going to start. And then you didn't have jumper cables though, right?
I was in the rental, so maybe. I don't know if do they put jumper cables in a rental car? You'd kind of think they would,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of be safe.
But I don't know, man.
I didn't even drive that thing today because, to my understanding, rear-wheel drive Mustangs probably not the best car for this weather. Mm-hmm. So I took my wife's car today instead. She's not. That's probably a
smart decision.
Now I hope she doesn't have to leave the house today because otherwise she's screwed. Mm-hmm. The plan would be that I should be able to get home by a normal amount of time after the show, and then she'll be fine.
So today would have been. I'm assuming at one point, if the Chiefs would have won, today was the plan for the parade. If it was the same formula as years prior, and then with the weather, I'm guessing the parade would have got either moved up to yesterday or would have been pushed back to Friday or something. I'm assuming is what would have happened. Because today would have been the normal day.
I'm guessing it would have been Tuesday. The original plan from Sam McDowell said Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm guessing they would have
just moved it up a day.
Thursday or Tuesday, yeah. Because Thursday, it's like you still got the same problem. There's still snow on the ground. You still got to clear the roads. You got to kind of go through the BS in order to do it. My guess is that. I guess we'll.
Yeah. Someone says, Gold, why didn't you have one of those automatic jumper packs? Well, the funny thing about that is
Gold has one of those.
I do, and of course, that was not charged. That one I'll loan. That one's on me. I do. I have one of those Halo.
I think when you got a car your age, you kind of have to.
Yeah, like I have one of those Halo bolt things, and they're great. It does tire pressure and it jump starts your car. That was dead. So, yeah.
It always feels like it snows on the first day pitchers and catchers report, Like we know that they're down there in the sunshine of Arizona showing up to surprise to do some pitcher fielding practice or whatever. And we're stuck in snow. Every time it's like baseball is here, it's snowy here. That kind of just feels like the natural transition.
Coming up in 25 minutes, we'll have our final check-in of the season with our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker. I'll be honest, he really wants to come on the show today. He's an Eagles fan. He does a great job covering the NFL.
He borderline was begging to come on the show today.
He was at the Super Bowl.
So we're going to let him have his last show.
He was at the Super Bowl with his family, and what an experience that was, I'm sure. So we'll talk to him about that, and he picked the Chiefs to win last week. So, I don't think he saw this result coming, at least certainly in the fashion it did. So we'll get his perspective on that and what it means for the Eagles moving forward and the Chiefs moving forward as well. But a lot of the future, of course, will be in the hands of general manager Brett Veach. And I'm curious how people feel about him now. And this is where we're still only a couple days removed. And I wonder if it's hard for people to still step back or not and recognize that the run that they're on doesn't also happen without some of the decisions that he made, while so much is going to be focused on the obvious, which is they have not been able to develop a left tackle. So you guys can let us know on the text line basically how you view him now, because Mahomes has been to 5 Super Bowls while he's been the general manager. That doesn't happen by accident. But there's also the reality of they haven't developed a left tackle, and they've had 5 different left tackles in the Super Bowl.
I want to be critical because he's part of the problem that caused this mistake. I don't think fans are wrong for being critical. But this goes to the broader thing with the Matt Nagy stuff, too. If you're coming in here to tell me Brett Veach is a bad general manager, then you're telling me that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are so incredibly great that they can overcome all of these foolish decisions and Spags. They're just so great that they win in spite of him. And that just can't be true. That just can't be true about Brett Veach. He can't be doing such a bad job that they're winning in spite of him, because you and I both know that that's not how the general manager job works. But to pretend like that his single biggest flaw as a GM at this point is that man can't find a left tackle to save his life, that's the case. He traded for one in a first-round pick in Orlando Brown Jr., but he didn't even like that player enough that he gave up a first-round pick for to give him an extension. So, he liked him. It wasn't like an F-level trade. They won a Super Bowl with him.
No, that was a successful move.
But it's when you look at it, it's like a B-level or C-plus trade, because you didn't even like that left tackle enough to pay him. You liked him enough to let him start, but he wasn't even good enough to do it. So then you had to go to the next left tackle option, a player that you didn't like for more than a year, to go to another left tackle option, to, so on and so on and so on. To the point that is, you have now gotten to 5. You're good enough at GM to 5 Super Bowls. That's pretty good, right, to appear. But not good enough to find a single left tackle that you're willing to stick with. I will say, it's time to swing for the fences. I think that in every time when it appeared, Brett Veach had a weakness. We've complained about this when it comes to edge rusher and a corner before. Positions he was not successful at figuring out, it seemed like before. And wide receiver. Wide receiver seems like it's going quite a bit better, and Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy over the last 2 years. They eventually, when it was a corner they loved, they went up to find Trent McDuffie. I think what I found out about Brett Veach is, if he doesn't love that player, he'll move on from his previous plan, or he won't trade up for it, right? He didn't trade up for corner because he didn't love anybody till McDuffie. He's got to go find the left tackle he loves and give up the world, or do what it takes to get it, because we can't keep doing this.
But you said the important part in there, and we hit on this a little bit yesterday when you said you'd be willing to trade multiple picks to go up in the draft. I said, I'm not against that, but the key part is it has to be somebody that you absolutely love, that you think is basically can't miss, like Trent McDuffie. I'm with you. And that's where we're at, though, in early February. I don't know yet. I'm sure they have plenty of evaluations already, and the combine hasn't even happened. Where is this left tackle class? And Bink will be with me either tomorrow or on Friday. He'll be filling in for us. And I know, Drew, I'm sure you guys will talk draft if we don't do it tomorrow, certainly on Friday a little bit, because he's a great guy for that, and they'll start the mock draft stuff and everything very, very soon. I only do that, though, Cody, if it's a tackle that they think is can't miss. That not just we think maybe.
It's enough half measures, though,
I hear you, but also, that guy has to exist that for this particular year. In general, over the last 5 years, they have not developed a left tackle. That is a fact. That is the biggest issue for his tenure currently, if you even want to say there's an issue, because I would still say he's easily the second best general manager in football, behind Howie Roseman. Whether people want to say that or not, I think it's pretty obvious at this point in time. So the tackle solution, I don't think, is there in free agency. Is there a trade that can happen with a team that's wanting to move on from their left tackle? That's tough to find, like the Orlando Brown Jr. situation. And that was Orlando Brown Jr. wanted to play left tackle. The Ravens already had Ronnie Stanley. Yep. So they're no, dude, we're not letting you play left tackle. That was how that trade also came together. So does that scenario exist anywhere else in the NFL? I don't know. But the draft stuff, yes, I would love for them to draft their left tackle of future. And if you tell me it's a can't-miss guy and they feel like you got to have him, and trading up to pick 16, let's just say, is what happens, then sure, I'm all about that. I don't know if that guy exists yet or not.
It's difficult, and I understand this notion to be I'm not saying it's an easy job to find a left tackle, especially when you're picking at and we can go through every draft. The Chiefs have essentially had their selection. They've moved up or down depending on trades they've made or those things. But their actual selection, the pick that they held, was like 32. I mean, legitimately, they've been in the AFC title game.
Yeah, that's the other aspect of why it's challenging.
It's between 29 and 32 every year. So, like, I do think that we need to, like, pay attention to that as you evaluate the job. I pointed this out before. Howie Roseman, who is another, obviously, great GM in the league, has picked 9th, has picked 13th, has picked 19th. Like, his job's a little easier than it is a Brett Veach because, and look, some of that is his own doing. Some of that is he makes wise, prudent trades when you let go of players. I would say Brett Veach did that. The time that they were able to be high enough in the draft to take a guy like Trent McDuffie is because they were willing to trade away Tyreek Hill. They've had to make those moves. And we can get in, maybe tomorrow you guys can get into some of the other guys that are willing to trade. But if you're going to tell me that Brett Veach is doing a bad job, I'm not going to listen. But if you're going to tell me like he needs to figure out left tackle, yeah, I'd be spending every waking moment if I were Brett Veach figuring out the guy who can block the guy for at least the next 5 years.
Yeah,
look, for some length of time.
They clearly aren't stupid. They've known that's an issue for a while. And you're like, well, then how come they didn't fix it? They tried. It just didn't work.
They tried to fix it. They failed.
Last year, in their mind, they had their next left tackle. Clearly, that's not the case, but they thought they did. It's not like they've been ignored. It's not fair to say they've ignored the problem. They just have not successfully found their option long term. And I can't remember who it was nationally yesterday that went through some of the left tackles for the great quarterbacks in this league. Obviously, Mahomes is one of them, but go back to Brady. Go back and look at the quarterbacks or the left tackles for Peyton Manning. Go back and look at the left tackles for Joe Montana. You don't have to find a Hall of Famer, okay? You don't have to find. Nobody's saying you got to go find Trent Williams, okay? That'd be nice.
You need a stable left tackle who is your starter for a number of years.
Go back a couple years in Chiefs history, like Eric Fisher, not a Hall of Famer.
I'll take Eric Fisher.
You know what I mean?
Now. I would take an Eric Fisher type right now.
Of course. That's what I'm saying. Like they don't have. They need to find a guy that can be a starter for a while. They do not have to go. Nobody's suggesting they got to go find a Hall of Fame left tackle.
So I know. I saw the text and they said, hey, they did try to re-sign Orlando Brown Jr. He ended up taking less money.
They did
in order to go to Cincinnati. Trying doesn't count in the NFL because you and I both know one universal truth. If they wanted to have Orlando Brown on their team, they could have offered him more money and kept him here. They decided, just like Tyreek Hill, they tried to sign Tyreek Hill too, but they made their choice at a certain dollar figure, which meant you wouldn't have him under any condition. You didn't like him that much. There's a level of like you had to him assigned to a dollar amount. And if you love that player under any condition, like Chris Jones, you would have paid him any amount of money to be a member of your team. You made your choice. You've had 5 different left tackles and 5 different Super Bowls. That is, I'll just be honest, that's not a good way to go about business. That is a bad way to go about business. And I'll say, like, and I know they tried this year, and I'm not saying they didn't.
I mean,
Kingsley Suamataia,
what part's a bad way to go about business? Sorry.
To have a different left tackle in every Super Bowl.
I thought you were saying the way they negotiated with him. Okay.
No.
I was like, that's how it works.
No, I don't care about that. No, that's fine.
Okay, I'm on the same page.
To keep changing left tackles across the board. That's a tough way to go about business. You can't keep operating under this, well, what if we just keep musical chairs over at the, I don't know, third most, fourth most important position on the field? I mean, it's one of the most important spots. You can do that at corner. The Chiefs have done that at corner. You can do that at a lot of spots. You can do that at running back. Hell, I think to a point anymore in the NFL, you can do that at wide receiver. You can't do that at left tackle. It's time to settle in. Figure out a long-term relationship, you know?
And again,
stop dating these guys.
This is the offseason where, once again, it's a pressing need, but is the solution out there? And that's, we're going to find out, but it may
sometimes
not. It may not be out there. Picking 31.
Humphries is the starter week 1 next year. I'm going to lose it.
That should be planned like D, but as we talked with Nate Taylor yesterday, like Nate Taylor, of course, said DJ Humphries believes, as any player should, believes that if you give him a full offseason, that he can be a starting left tackle. Of course,
he was
of course
in the league. He was kind of like the Eric Fisher type.
That's to me, if a bunch of that doesn't work out, I still think it's done, and there's no going back with this. I still would love the answer on what was the whole thing 2 years ago when they traded for Juwan Taylor.
Oh, the whole left tackle thing with him?
And for like 72 hours, it was like, they traded for their left tackle of the future. And then we had him on the show, too. I remember that day.
He said he played left tackle.
And then very quickly it was like, oh, no, he's the right tackle. Now, I know people have issue with how he's played right tackle. I also think he gets beat up a little bit too much, in fairness, like from fans, not like in the game.
He's what a league average.
I think he's an
right
average.
tackle looks
He's
like.
over. You can say he's overpaid. Is he a disaster? No, both can be true. But I still wonder where that left tackle stuff came from with him.
I don't know. They abandoned it pretty quick.
Very, very early on.
Because that could have been the option before they moved their left guard to left tackle. Because it'd be like, well, then you're weakening right tackle. You're like, yeah, but you're weakening left guard at an all-pro level to do it. It's all just a mess. And then meanwhile, we got to figure out the cap stuff and whether that money's around. Travis Kelce, obviously on Wednesdays is when his New Heights podcast releases. It's kind of a longer cut because he gives a long explanation for it. It is hard not to hear this and think that Travis Kelce is very seriously, if not leaning towards, listen to it and then we can give our opinion on it, towards retirement. This is Travis Kelce on New Heights talking about what he'll do about retirement.
I know everybody wants to know whether or not I'm playing next year, and right now I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can down the road, and I'm not making any crazy decisions, but right now the biggest thing is just being there for my teammates and being there for my coaches, understanding, that there's a lot that goes into this thing. I've been fortunate over the past 5-6 years. I've played more football than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's because of the people that are in that building and the fact that we keep going to these AFC championships and these Super Bowls. And that means I'm playing an extra 3 games more than everybody else in the entire league. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And it's a lot of time spent in the building, focusing on your crafts, focusing on the task at hand, every challenge that you set up for yourself. And it's that process can be grueling. It can weigh on you. It can make you better, and it can drive you crazy at the same time. And right now, it's one of those things where it was kind of driving me crazy this year. And I think that it happens as you kind of tail off towards the back nine of your career, as SVP would say. Is it's as you see yourself or not feel yourself have the success that you once used to have. Man, it's a tough pill to swallow. And then on top of that, to not be there in the biggest moments, knowing your team's counting on you, man. Those are all extremely hard things to, it's just a tough reality. And, I think, I'm going to take some time to figure it out. And, I think I owe it to my teammates that if I do come back, that it's going to be something that, it's a wholehearted decision. I'm not half-assing it, and I'm fully here for them. And, I think I could play. It's just, whether or not I'm motivated or it's the best decision for me as a man, as a human, as a person to take on all that responsibility.
So that was Kelce on New Heights. Very honest. At minimum, he is very much considering retirement. At minimum, out of that cut.
Yeah, that cut makes it sound like he's done with it.
And
he don't want to do it anymore.
Admitting that, and he admitted that in the middle of this season, there were moments where I
don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And it's not just can he put up numbers still. There's a lot more to it. It's do I really want to think about how long of a season as he was breaking down the last couple of years. But you get up there into July in St. Joe and it's 100 degrees and humid and you're grinding at practice. And then, you don't really play in the preseason, but still you're practicing there. And then every single week. And this year you're playing 3 games in 11 days or whatever it was. And you're playing on holidays or day after holidays. You're playing on Christmas Day, all of it. That's, something eventually you get probably sick of, tired of. Now, as he says, he's going to take some time because I think it's very easy, like 3 days after the Super Bowl, to be like, okay,
that was a long-ass season, and I'm tired.
Is your answer different 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now?
It's like
it sure sounds like a player. Right now, if we were to do updated odds on Travis Kelce's retirement, minus 350 or 400 that he's retiring, meaning that's the favorite. The non-retired.
Heavy favorite.
That's decent. Yeah, that's a decent
size
favorite.
Size favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be, you get 2 or 3 to 1 odds that he's coming back next season now versus 2 weeks ago or 72 hours ago. I think it would have been a different answer.
I'm having a hard time hearing that and not thinking I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny. It's not even like the beginning part where he's like, I need to think on it, or the end when he's like, if I'm there, I got to be there. I got to whole ass this thing with my teammates and I got to make sure that I'm there. It's that little bit in the middle where he admits what you said at the beginning, which is there was a part this season when Travis Kelce was not enjoying it.
Yep.
And I get it, right? His numbers weren't backing it up. The offense was still struggling. They were just kind of stuck in no man's land, and he probably got to a point where he was going through the motions. and he didn't help his team in the Super Bowl. Had he gone for 100, maybe it's different or whatever else, right? Nobody helped the team in the Super Bowl, in fairness, but like they just got their ass kicked in the Super Bowl, and it's probably fresh, and that was a long-ass season. But he has played, and we've done the math on this, in the run they're on, he's played an extra 1.5 seasons in the 7-8 years since they started going on these playoff runs. So, I mean, he's played a lot of additional football. He's an older player. And funny enough, I just watched an interview with Jason Kelce. Somebody was asking him, I think it was maybe like a Barstool. It was like a real short one. And he was talking about, hey, would you ever want to coach? And he's like, part of me would love it. Like, he's like, I actually kind of would love coaching the offensive line and doing those. He's like, the amount of hours it takes. And he's like, I'll be honest, it'd be a significant pay cut from podcasting. Like, he's openly admitting, like, that'd be a real pay decrease to go
$100 million Amazon
to
deal.
go be an offensive line coach. Like, I think there's part of it where it is very easy for Travis to walk away, even easier than other players, man, because he can do anything else to financially support himself, to fill his time, to scratch a creative itch, whatever, right? He can do a million things. I hear that, and I hear a guy who's retiring.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think he's leaving. But
I don't know how you...
It's so immediate, I don't want to, be the only thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't hear that and at least, like, if all you knew was that piece of audio, I don't know how you wouldn't come to the conclusion. Yeah. Does it mean 100% no? But if all you heard was that piece of audio, you would think, oh, yeah. Because once you, like with any, like you laid it out, Cody, like whether we're talking about football or anything, the minute if you're sick of the current job you're in this case, we're talking about a short shelf life, NFL players. He's played a long career, but typically the NFL careers, your earnings potential is very, very short window. If you're in any job and you start already talking to yourself like, I don't know if I really like this anymore, it might be time for something new. The minute your mind is already willing to say, and you're already willing to say that out loud, I think you're kind of already there, aren't you?
And look, it could change, and I understand like he could get a few days away from it and then just be like, oh man, I do kind of miss it or those things. And I'm not saying it can't like cycle back into your brain, but like if you made him, like if he had to, right? Decisions on retirement have to come by Wednesday, February 12th. He's done. He's done. If they had to come today. I think sometimes, because I think Jason Kelce was seriously considering retiring the year before and then ended up coming back. I think sometimes you talk yourself into, you're like, no, I actually want to do it for these guys one more time. I want to be in that locker room one more time. I want to do this thing. But the Chiefs actually kind of need, like, he has to give them a decision in 30 days, really. That roster bonus is going to come due.
They can still.
And I honestly think you should give them the date by, like, 1 month from today. Free agency opens in the National Football League. I think you want to know before then because it impacts every decision. It is such a large ripple. Financial, position, draft, everything. I think he's got to know in 30 days.
It absolutely plays a huge role. I would say, though, like if he truly came to them and said, hey, I need more time, they can push back. There's a way they can negotiate and redo some wording in the contract and push things back to where they don't run into a scenario where they pay out the bonus and then he retires and then they're stuck. That's not happening one way or the other. He's either going to retire before then, tell him he's coming back before then, or he'll delay the decision and they'll rework it. They would, of course, love an answer sooner. But Jason Kelce did not retire until June, I believe. Or was it? He was
March.
June 1st cut, though, was way.
Yeah, he was a June 1st cut, but he announced his retirement like March 3rd.
He did not have the roster bonus, though, in my understanding, I don't think. So that's the difference on the timeline, but they can push that back if they need to. Let me ask you this. With the cap hit, if I told you it had to be a $19 million, do you think that is best for the team that he's back?
Yes. So, I've already told you on the free agency market, and now it's a full $19 million cap hit, not an average annual per year. That's the cost. A wide receiver costs you 30% more than that.
So while
a 900-yard wide receiver costs you 30% more than that.
Maybe it's unpopular, but not at $19 million, and I don't believe he would be back on 19. That's why I'm not worried about the $19 million cap hit. He's either going to retire and you don't have any cap hit, or to me, if he comes back, they will have a additional year added, dummy year. They'll move money around, and his cap hit will be reduced. He'll still get his money, but the cap hit will be reduced. I don't believe there's really a scenario where he's playing next season and the cap hit is $19 million. I believe if he comes back, they will do something with the contract and push it back a year to give them some more flexibility. Because if he comes, must be also real. If he comes back, it means he also thinks they can win a championship still. And how do you help them win a championship? You don't have a $19 million cap hit this offseason.
You don't cost that amount of money.
Yeah.
You take a little haircut. You put on the dummy years. You do the fake extension that we've seen in the NFL where, we extend you for another year and we spread out the cap hit essentially between 2 years because we know we're going to get it. All of those things I certainly think are in play. But if you said it's no choice, Travis Kelce back, he wants back, let's just say that. Travis Kelce wants back and it's just going to be at $19 million. I'd pay it. But that was the conversation I told you yesterday where plenty of teams have let players of his caliber go even at the end of their career because of a difference of money.
Yeah, but he's not playing anywhere else. You would agree with
I
that?
don't think so. I don't think so.
He's either back or he's retiring. I'm not worried about. I
think he'd take the discount too. Agreed.
All right, up next, let's talk with Ross Tucker, Odyssey NFL insider. He was at the Super Bowl. He's a Philly guy. We'll ask him about retirement a little bit too with Travis Kelce, plus what the Eagles were able to do and what this means for their future as well. Next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Winter is more than half over, and things are looking up. But before we start thinking about spring lawn care, I'd like to ask you to look up at your trees. This is Larry Ryan at Ryan Lawn and Tree. And right now, before the leaves fill in, is a great time to find and take care of old storm damage, remove dead branches, and carefully prune trees for better growth and storm resilience. Now is also when you can save 15% with our winter rates. Our team of master pruners and certified arborists is unmatched in both skill and care. And at Ryan Lawn and Tree, they're also employee owners. You're not just a customer, you're their customer. I think you'll be impressed with the difference that makes. So will your valuable trees. Take advantage of our winter rates and enjoy 15% off all tree services when you book before March 1st. Call today or book online at ryanlawn.com/tree.
At Jefferson's, our favorite day is game day, especially on Kansas City game day. We know our guys in red like to play down to the wire, and we're here for every second of it. Our ice-cold beers pair perfectly with a blocked field goal. Our double-dip wings taste even crispier when KC makes yet another game-changing play. It just tastes better when you're watching at a bar that's owned and operated locally. Join us on game day and every day at Jefferson's, 87th Street and Lackman in Lenexa and North Kansas City on Armour Road. Jefferson's, wings, burgers, oysters.
Shane Company has partnered with Cupid to bring you the best Valentine's Day gifts, even if you forgot. We won't tell. From heart necklaces with sparkling diamonds to stylish gold hoops, every piece is made with love. Plus, there's still time to pop the question on the most romantic day of the year. Create your own engagement ring or pick a perfectly preset ring that's ready to go. We make it easy with gifts for every budget, in stock and ready to give, so it looks like you've been planning this for months. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another, and don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation, but then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano, and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof, while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at NissanUSA.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Febreze.
Fabric Talk. Hello, my love. I am your living room carpet. I see everything. I feel everything. After a while, I smell like everything, including Sir Pickles, who you snuggle with while binging that dating show you can't stop watching. So, how about we freshen things up with Febreze Fabric Spray? Oh, and a big spray for my pals, couch and ottoman. Ah, yes, refreshing. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund has belonged to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
All right, everybody, it's here. The march to spring training and opening day is officially upon us. Hey, I'm Rob Bradford from Baseballs and Boring, and we'll have you covered every single day with instant reactions to late-breaking signings, determining which players are, yes, truly in the best shape of their lives, and behind-the-scenes stories from all the excitement and intrigue that spring training brings. Follow Baseball Isn't Boring in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Metal by the Foot, your metal project superstore.
At Metal by the Foot, we pride ourselves on delivering the highest quality metal to meet your exact needs. Located in Casey and Topeka, online at metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the foot.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Second 11 Chiefs at their own 43, trailing 24-0, just underway, third quarter. Super Bowl 59. Hollywood Brown, tip-tap motion, goes back to the right. Mahomes again in trouble, and again he's sacked. This time back at the 37-yard line. Josh Sweat. And when the Chiefs are pocket passing, they are getting overmatched.
The story of the game on Sunday, no doubt about that. And to talk more about the game itself and looking ahead to the future a little bit, our Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker joins us. Of course, the host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, daily NFL podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. He was also in New Orleans, both for Media Row, but I know you went back on Sunday too. You told us you were taking the family as well. So I'll say it hurts. It hurts here, but congratulations to you. You got to have that moment with your family and everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really cool. I call over 30 games a year, so I pretty much never get to just kind of be a dad and a fan and take my family to a game. And I think I told you guys, but late the week after the championship games, my daughter, who turned 13 Sunday, said, "Daddy, can you please take me to the Super Bowl for my birthday?" And so I thought, okay. So we went, and certainly was not expecting that at all, but was really, really happy because it made the birthday all the more special that the Eagles won. Would have been not nearly as cool of a trip if it had gone the other way. And I was as stunned as anyone. You know, everybody in Philadelphia, where I do a lot of media and do a lot of work for the Eagles, has been reminding me that I predicted the Chiefs would win. I love all these people mocking me because I picked the Chiefs to win. Like, the Chiefs were favored in the game. I want to see all these geniuses that made hundreds of thousands of dollars betting the Eagles' money line.
Right.
Okay? Like, it was that obvious that the Eagles are going to – I didn't see one person say 34-0 or 40-6 or whatever. Not a single person saw that coming. I don't care what anybody says.
What do you think? So we always looked at it. I was trying to decide between, like, was it just one of those performances where it unraveled and everything got the better of you? Or were the Chiefs doing an incredible job at disguising a massive weakness for an entire NFL season? Like, we know they went through 4 left tackles and that their offensive line had their struggles and that the Phillies' defensive line was good. But either it was an all-time performance by their defensive line or Kansas City just did one of the greatest magic tricks for 18-plus games disguising what was a much bigger weakness than even we realized.
So it's a great question, and I would say the answer is a little bit of both. Because ironically, I actually thought that the Eagles' D-line 2 years ago was better.
Same.
And if you remember 2 years ago, that's when they had knocked out 2 Niners quarterbacks out of the game, and Christian McCaffrey was, playing quarterback for a play. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. But they had guys that year. I mean, Brandon Graham, they set the NFL record, I think, for sacks that year, which is why, by the way, it was so stunning when in that Super Bowl 2 years ago, they had 0 sacks.
Right.
And obviously some people think the footing played a part in it, whatever. The point is, I think both years were probably closer to the middle, and that what we saw in these 2 Super Bowls was the extremes. In other words, I don't really think that the Chiefs' offensive line was good enough that where they should have been able to shut out the Eagles' D-line 2 years ago. But I also don't think it was so pronounced that, it's halftime or early third quarter, and I look up in the next-gen stats, the Eagles have 5 sacks, 11 quarterback pressures with 0 blitzes. I mean, that's the part that was stunning. I do think that Chiefs O-line 2 years ago was better because they still had Orlando Brown and they had 2 Niat guards. They were just so good on the interior, whereas this year, I think they probably had 3 guys that if you could really tee off on them, that they probably were going to struggle at times in one-on-one pass pro, and that was the right tackle, the left guard, and the left tackle. And I thought Andy Reid made a major mistake not running it more or really at all in the first half because the Eagles, they played so many 2 deep safety looks. He really put the offensive line in a spot where they were just kind of catching and, the Eagles could just tee off on them. And then Mahomes was never comfortable. The Eagles have some very good, coverage players, coverage defenders. And then he would hold it because they would take away the underneath stuff. And then by the time he held it, they just were coming at you in waves. The other thing, the weird thing about the game to me is it looked like the Eagles looked like they had just been off for a month, and they were flying around, jumping out of their shoes. And look at the Chiefs are playing on a short week. I don't know how else to describe it, but that was what I was sensing with the energy. Maybe the crowd had something to do with it. I don't know, but right from the start, it was wow. I mean, you could just feel it.
I just wonder, sometimes, and I know that it takes so long to show up sometimes, Ross. It's there's a reason they played an extra season and a half over 6 seasons. You start getting kicked in the teeth and you're okay, I'm out. At some point, 3-peats are nearly impossible in the Super Bowl era for a reason, and it's because most of these teams eventually run out of gas in the regular season. But this is the whole argument. I understand the people be well, never going to mention Brady ever again. I think we got to wait till the end of their careers probably to do it. But I refuse, Ross, and I don't know how the people felt about this as a player. I refuse to let the national narrative be that it is somehow worse to get your ass kicked in the Super Bowl than lose a close game in the wild card. No, it's better to have gotten to the Super Bowl. You accomplished more in a season than teams who lost earlier in the years in those other dynasties.
You are 1,000% correct. Okay? I will never buy that story. It's like when the people would say, well, Joe Montana never lost in the Super Bowl. Well, yeah, he only got to 4. You know what I mean? That you are always better racking up conference championship game appearances, racking up, getting to Super Bowls. And by the way, you have a 0% chance to win the Super Bowl if you don't get there. He's now 3-2 in Super Bowls, which, by the way, isn't that what Brady was?
Yep.
Did Brady win his first 3 and then lose the next 2?
Yep.
So who cares? So they're both 3-2 in Super Bowls. Now, in terms of the GOAT stuff and all of that, I think until Mahomes wins 5, which is 2 more, I think people should probably, tap the brakes on that a little bit, right? He's going to have to win 5 and get within legit striking distance. And it is fair. I don't ever remember Brady playing that poorly in a Super Bowl, and Mahomes has kind of done it twice now. I don't even remember Brady really playing that poorly in AFC Championship games, but he had a game I remember against the Jets where he really looked bad in the playoffs, like a divisional round game. Sanchez Jets.
There was a Jake Plummer game he got rocked.
Wild card game against the Ravens, he didn't play well. So Brady's had bad games in the playoffs. You know, it's just interesting. The further you get in the playoffs, we remember those games a lot more. So, like, when you lose in the wild card round, the divisional round, because there's so many other games and because it's not the game that necessarily everybody's locked in on, like the whole game, we don't remember that as much as the conference championship games and the Super Bowls, where I don't recall Brady looking kind of like, you know, like Mahomes looked in that game. I mean, that was, I don't know, you guys got to tell me, that was by far the worst I can ever remember Patrick looking, just in terms of the interceptions were both really bad. You know, even DeAndre Hopkins is wide open, and maybe he should have caught it or whatever, but that was like, wow, this is just not his day. He was holding on to the ball. Obviously, you could tell he was confused. I think it's the worst game I've seen him play. You guys have to remind me of how bad the one was against the Bucks, or even
this
the
was worse.
game against the Bengals.
Yeah, this was worse because I would argue in the Bucks game, if you look at and even go back and watch that, Mahomes was trying to pull off like, you know, Herculean plays and things like that.
He actually looked okay in that game. His team let him down more than the other way around.
Whereas this one, he made plenty of mistakes, and this is far more on him. In addition, of course, to the offensive line than the Bucks one, in my opinion.
That's the thing I think, and I had Greg Cosell, who does an excellent job, you know, on the Raw Sucker Football podcast this morning, breaking it down. But what is so telling is the Eagles not blitzing once and having two deep safeties the vast majority of the plays. They basically said, number one, we don't think you're going to run it. And number two, even if you do run it, we're not really worried about it. We can solve it. And they also stayed in nickel the whole game with Cooper DeJean. So even if you do run it, we think we can stop it with our front six. And then we don't have to ever bring a blitz to get pressure. We're going to get pressure with our front four. That's a problem. And, you know, to Cody's point, like, that's something that you know, obviously the Chiefs are going to have to once again reinvest in the offensive line, because they had a couple guys at positions that are, you know, not up to par for where they need to be to play better in a game like that, especially if Andy's going to come out and just have them kind of throw the ball every play. I really thought that was a mistake.
100% with you. We're talking to our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker. Bigger picture from your perspective when you look at both the Chiefs and the Eagles, and, you know, there's already, you know, the national shows talking about, can the Eagles become the next dynasty? Here in Kansas City, we don't think this thing is suddenly just over for Kansas City either, although they've got questions to answer. How do you view the Chiefs moving forward? And it is a big offseason, but I think it'd be foolish with Mahomes and Andy Reid still around to think that they're just falling off a cliff or anything.
Right. So, again, anybody saying anything about negative about the Chiefs or Mahomes or Andy Reid, like, you're kidding yourselves. They've been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. They've won 3 of them. That is incredible. I could actually make the argument that watching what happened Sunday almost makes me appreciate everything else they've accomplished even more. You know, like, the amount of games they've won and playoff games, and think about how many times they've beaten the Bills and the Ravens. It makes it even more impressive on some level, because you realize sometimes you have a game where, like, the other team. I mean, let's play this game for a second. I'm going to pull this up, okay, right now. How many guys? Let's just say offensively. How many guys on the Chiefs' offense at their position would start for the Eagles, okay? Neither guy would start. Xavier Worthy was a good draft pick, and by the way, I think it's very telling that Xavier Worthy became their go-to skill guy, but he's not starting over Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown.
Right.
Okay? On the O-line, Creed Humphrey and Trey would both start over their counterparts at center and right guard, but the Eagles are significantly better at the other three spots because Tooney's pumped out to left tackle. Dallas Goedert is a better player right now, I would say, than Travis is. That one's probably close. You know, Saquon Barkley, forget it, compared to the Chiefs running back.
You wouldn't take Kareem Hunt over Saquon?
Yeah.
The easiest decision on the field.
And then Mahomes, right? So basically what we're saying is what is that, 3 guys?
Yeah.
Mahomes, the center, and the right guard?
Tight end, if you're, you're probably in Kansas City, but if you're in Philly, you're probably saying Goddard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, then, Goddard or Kelce, right. So let's say 3.5 guys on offense for the Chiefs would start for the Eagles. And then defensively, Chris Jones would start. I think Bolton would start next to Zach Bond, the first-team All-Pro linebacker, but not over him. Karlaftis is close, I would say, with Sweat and Nolan Smith. On the back end, I think McDuffie starts, but I don't know. I mean, the point is that the Eagles have a really, really good team, and it makes what they've done very impressive. The Chiefs have a very good GM, and they're aggressive with Veach. I give Veach a ton of credit. I mean, he basically did everything he could. You know what I mean? Like, bringing in Hollywood Brown, bringing in Juju, DeAndre Hopkins, trying with DJ Humphries, on defense, trading for Uche. I mean, he really tried to do every little thing he could do to get those guys to be able to do it again. I fully suspect they'll be in the mix with the Ravens, with the Bills, maybe with the Bengals. Although the Bengals, 3 of their best 4 players are free, need new contracts. You know what I mean? So the Bengals have their own issues. But yes, the Eagles are. I can't say the Eagles are going to be a dynasty because they don't have an MVP. Their quarterback did not play an MVP caliber level this year. He played maybe his 2 best games the last 2 games. They're going to have a new coordinator. The Eagles will be in the mix, but part of that, quite frankly, is because the NFC is not as good as the AFC.
Sure.
Who in the NFC, the Lions, they lose both their coordinators. The Vikings have a quarterback issue. I think the Packers, maybe. Do you think the Niners are coming back or not? I just think the Eagles are probably the clear favorite in the NFC, but not necessarily. I don't know that they're good enough at head coach and quarterback, proven enough to say, okay, here comes a dynasty. What I do feel comfortable with saying is here comes a team that's sure as heck going to be in the mix for at least the next 3. I mean, every guy on offense is under contract next year except for Becton, but they have a guy to replace him. And their 6 best players on offense are all under contract for at least the next 2 years. I mean, they're set up to be very good through 2026 at a minimum.
Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider, thanks again for coming on throughout the season, man. Enjoy the offseason. I know you've been busy all fall, so maybe you'll get take a deep breath here for a little bit.
It is absolutely my pleasure. Great to talk with you guys. Yes, ski season starts tomorrow. I'll be flying out west to ski. It's the only thing I can do post-football. So if you're in Montana and you see a 260-pound orange blur coming down in an orange jacket, that's me.
All right. You got it. We'll keep an eye out if we make the trek. All right, there you go. That's Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider. He is the host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Daily NFL Podcast. Check it out on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. I agree with him on the NFC AFC point. We've made that heading in. The Eagles, to their credit, they have they're a very good team, clearly, but they've taken advantage of an NFC that right now doesn't have the dominant team. Heck, I guess they're the dominant team. They've been in the Super Bowl twice in 3 years, but there hasn't been. Everybody thought it was the Lions. they got too banged up as the season went on. And all the questions, we're going to all find out. Can the Lions still be the same team without their coordinators, as he said? And then there's just so many question marks. Jaden Daniels is the guy everybody's talking about. Can he have a sophomore season?
But he gets to keep his guys.
He does.
Because Cliff didn't leave.
Yeah, so can he continue to build off of his sophomore season? Unlike C.J. Stroud wasn't able to do that, even though Jaden Daniels was more impressive than Stroud in his rookie year. So the NFC, the Eagles will have a great chance to get back. They really will.
Meanwhile, on the other side, since it is pitchers and catchers day, we can sneak in a little
I saw
baseball.
photos from Surprise, Arizona from media members that are out there. It looks very nice.
Looks lovely. One of these days, this show should get out to Arizona. I've spent probably my fair share of time at spring training over the years, but happy to get out there one more time as a show since you've never been to spring training.
I've never. That's the one thing I've been spoiled to go to a lot of cool things, but not
Super Bowls and
not
spring
training. Yeah,
you got to go down there just for personal reasons, like even if you're not even doing the media end. I was a little surprised yesterday when I saw the announcement from the Royals announcing that Ned Yost has returned to the Royals organization in an advisory role. Quote, my deep love for the Royals, for Kansas City and the people there never left. So I just wanted to help because I know I can help and I know what it takes to build a world championship club. And I think we're close. I think we're getting really close. So Ned was sitting on the farm, canning peaches or whatever, surviving bee attacks or whatever.
Hanging out on the deer stand.
Hanging out on the deer stand. And he thought, this team's so close to a championship, I just want to be in the aura of it. I mean, this is a no-lose deal. Yeah. He's advising J.J. Piccolo, presumably on stuff that'd be like, how did you handle developing a World Series caliber culture inside of your clubhouse at that time? They pay you six figures?
Yeah, not a bad
gig. You kick a few ideas around? I don't hate this at all. Obviously, Ned and I have a back and forth relationship probably over the years, but I'm glad to see Ned back with the organization. I don't know who wouldn't want this.
Right. Yeah. This is an obvious win, if you will, for both parties involved. I would still love to know if we got a true answer, like who approached who.
I think maybe we have JJ on next week and ask him.
Was that something the Royals approached Ned and said, we really love your input back? Did Ned eventually just get bored? I don't know, right? But of course, it's a great asset. It's a great asset to have back around the ball club. And also, it's kind of, it's interesting, too. This year, they will be celebrating throughout the season the 2015 World Champions. They will have the 10-year reunion of that during this season. So, so he's back. He's back in that anyway. So that's kind of unique. I'll be curious how long, is he on to this role, too? Is this a 2-year thing? Is this something where we're still talking about him being part of this 5 years from now? I don't know, right? So there's some other questions, but it never hurts to have somebody that was part of your most or second most successful season ever in franchise history that started when this team, much like what we've seen recently, right, when you started to see them slowly progress and become competitive like they were last year and get back in the postseason, then they took the next jump and went to World Series. So it definitely doesn't hurt anything at all.
I just see it as kind of like a no-lose thing. I wonder if this is...
Being an advisor and consultant, by the way, I still think anything in life is an incredible gig.
If someone's looking for a radio consultant...
Great gig.
I'm your guy.
Show up once, show up a couple times a year.
$20,000, I tell you how you do things wrong.
And then you get a leave, and there's no... there's no repercussion or anything. It's great.
Every now and then you listen to a few things.
Yeah. Oh, being a consultant and advisor is like a dream gig. Dream gig.
Oh, it's pretty cush. I just... I view this as J.J. Piccolo looks at this team and he looks at the talent on this team and they're like, this team is good enough to just go on a run. We've got a superstar player, one of the better rotations in the American League on paper. It got us to the divisional round last year. How do we take momentum from a previous playoff year and make sure that it sticks? Make sure that what was the preparation like? What were the attitudes like? How did you manage one side of the clubhouse versus the other versus losing streaks? Because Ned's biggest strength probably in the entire time he managed was that when it got bleak, and it got bleak for Ned, as in people were ready to fire his ass.
Yeah, All-Star break.
All-Star break. Done. The year, they were ready in 14 to come after him. How did you keep it from unraveling when it felt like it was getting ready to unravel? How did you keep him from unraveling? How do you take advantage of Correa missing a ground? Whatever, right? But how did you keep it from unraveling, and how did you keep the team together? How did you let the leaders speak? Whatever, right? Yeah, pay him. Pay him to figure it out. What's the harm? him kicking around spring training. George Brett's always there. And I assume you saw the interview Gordon did on Hosmer's podcast, in which he said when he went to go sign his contract, he said he walks into the room and it's just a room and it's the contract and it was just George Brett. He said, you need to sign this. And he's like, yes, sir, Mr. Brett.
That's great.
You got it.
I do know that
having great players who had success around your organization is a good thing.
The last couple of years, too. Last year, they had James Shields was back at spring training. I know Matt Quattrero was on with Vern. What was that, 2 Saturdays ago now, I guess, at this point? Or was that last Saturday? I don't know. Maybe it was last Saturday. The day
I think it was
this past Saturday, yeah, the day before the Super Bowl, I think. Or something. I don't know. But anyway, he was on with Vern at Royals Rally, whatever that Saturday was. And Q mentioned how they plan on bringing back more guys for spring training this go around than even last year. And so, they've had, I think, I think he said Joaquim Soria is expected to be there this year at spring training as well. They'll have them on different times, right? They're not going to be there the entire. One guy will be there for a couple days. Somebody else will be there for a couple days. But yeah, none of that hurts when you got still a pretty young team.
Yeah. I mean, it's a team like all the guys are on rookie deals except for Bobby Wood Jr., who's making a ton of cash, and Salvador Perez, who's been around this organization for a million years.
All right, up next, we'll get back to the Chiefs with Josh Brisco, our Chiefs contributor here on 96.5 The Fan. We'll ask him about some of the offseason moves that may or may not happen, and did he hear the Travis Kelce retirement audio, the question about retirement, the same way we did? That's coming up here on Cody and Gold.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5 The Fan.
Not necessarily just the weather that makes you feel tired, lacking motivation, drive, loss of muscle mass. Those things can all be signs of low testosterone. You don't want to wait. You just want to find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. Simple test, on-site lab, results back right there. And the nice part, it's not your typical doctor's office. They have physicians. They specialize in treating low T. With testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, they do it for each individual patient, not just, I walk in the door, somebody else walks in the door, like, hey, here you go. Good luck. No, it's individualized, optimized plans for each patient with doctors who are experienced in treating low T. Their experts over there have decades of experience helping people with this exact problem and can help you too. Look, if you already go there, let everyone know. For current patients, Low T's offering a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. Get back to your best. Feel your best again and go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Listen, you've been making house payments for years, right? And right now your home's value has never been higher, right? That means you're likely sitting on a small fortune in equity. And good for you. That's cash you could use to help secure your retirement, solve all your financial burdens, enable you to travel everything you want. The catch is, you're not ready to move. No problem. You don't have to with TrueHold. Sell and stay leaseback program. It's a genius financial strategy. You sell your home to TrueHold while its value is high. You bag all the equity in cash now, and you can stay as long as you like with an easy, affordable lease. And TrueHold pays property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. TrueHold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Get a TrueHold offer now while your home's value is sky high. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out without moving out. TrueHold.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-518-3899. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-518-3899. That's 800-518-3899. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, Casey, when I discovered my new passion, I dove into social media, got on some shows, and soon almost Andy Reid was born. But this winter, there's something new you might discover that's not as great. Issues with your garage door. Don't get stuck in the cold. Get your annual maintenance check for just $100 or a free replacement quote from my friends at Renner Garage Door. They carry top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, trusted locally since 1956.
R-E-N-N-E-R, R-E-N-N-E-R.
Has your home been on the market without success? An expired listing can feel frustrating, but it doesn't have to be the end of your journey. The Sharp Homes team specializes in turning things around. Contact my friend Dawn Sharp if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Dawn and her team are brokered by Epic Realty, and they've sold over 150 homes in the last 12 months alone. Plus, they can give you options. If you want to skip the showings and open houses and go straight to sold, you can do that with their instant offer program. Google them at Sharp Homes Team or visit them at homesforsaleinKC.com.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
That spice is 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Hi, my name is Khadijah, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich is that spicy kick of the chicken. It's just the right amount of heat, and it gets me excited. And then, pro tip, add that cilantro lime sauce. It cools it down. If the sandwich is at 100, the cilantro lime takes it to 200. It makes me want to, tell all my friends and family.
Order a Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich and a Diet Dr. Pepper on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Welcome to TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN+. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund has belonged to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Head home with the drive. Weekdays starting at 2 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Coming up a little bit later on today in the show, we will check in with Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated. That's coming up in the 1 o'clock hour on a Wednesday. Hope you're staying safe out there, although I think the snow's been stopped for like 3 hours. Or there's maybe some light flurries, but it looks like it's mostly done and the roads are starting to clear up. Be safe out there. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. You can chime in, as always, on the J Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. Let's keep talking some Chiefs, though, and we welcome in Josh Brisco, who's presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of the blue. He is our Chiefs contributor here on 96.5 The Fan. Josh, let's just start with ultimately your reaction. I'm sure it was shock, right, of how this thing played out on Sunday, because we had you on last Friday, and I'll give you credit. You said, hey, Sweat against Tooney might be a problem, and boy was it.
Yeah, usually I love being right. Like, it's one of my favorite things that I can ever be. I love being right. I would trade that one in a heartbeat if at all possible. And hey, you know what I didn't tell you? I didn't tell you that Jalix Hunt also has really long arms. And I didn't tell you that Jawan Taylor was going to have one of his worst games as a Chief. And I probably did tell you that Mike Caliendo was going to be a problem. I think we were all aware of that fact.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we probably talked about Jalen Carter being a matchup advantage over even a very good player in Trey Smith. I didn't tell you that Vic Fangio would never blitz in a game where they got pressure anytime they wanted it. So, yeah, a lot of those ingredients were there. So what I think kind of lands as the most surprising thing from that game is the fact that the Eagles were able to get that result while doing nothing inherently surprising. There were no wrinkles. There were no twists. There was nothing shocking on either side of the football. The Chiefs shut down Saquon Barkley. The Eagles just did things that they've been doing all year. They did things on defense that Vic Fangio does all the time, and the Chiefs had no answers. Personnel-wise, coaching-wise, no answers to be found, and everybody's got to wear it. It was brutal, obviously.
This isn't even meant to be a knock. I was a little surprised that part of the story there was like, Fangio's a genius. I'm like, he didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, Cover four all day long.
He just lined up and let 4 defensive linemen completely wreck the game. He didn't have to make a decision. Fangio didn't have to do anything in that game. That game was over the second they didn't have to blitz a single time.
I have also had that take internally and not mentioned it anywhere. But
I'm not like Fangio's great. I'm just saying it wasn't him that destroyed this game.
Everything that he set up throughout the year paid off in this game, right? Like, that is a clearly incredibly well-coached defense. That is a unit that is certainly very well built. You go back to the personnel perspective, but, like, they were able to do their things, and they play their game at a very high level. That's a huge credit to Fangio and the coaching staff, but it is a very different way of tipping your hat to a defensive coordinator than the way we would do it for Spags when he dials up, like, 3 crazy blitzes and I play 4 snaps in slot corner. Like, that's kind of how Spags does it. Fangio, he set up those bowling pins in training camp, and they knocked him down on Sunday.
And that's fine. And, like, this is just one of those games where I'd love to, like, reinvent. It sucks because it's not even a game where you can be like, but what if? Like, I want to come on the air and be like, but what if they had just put DJ Humphries in the game? Nothing was saving it. There was no, like, magic pill to take halfway through. And if they played now, I'm afraid, and Golden Knight asked this question right after, if they played this game 10 times, does Kansas City win twice? Do they find a way to just, like, run it way more a couple of times, or start DJ Humphries from the beginning, or start Wanye at left tackle, or Kingsley or something else, or some crazy notion?
I want to hear this answer because I think it's absolutely not. They don't have the personnel, clearly.
Yeah, so, I mean, in this hypothetical, do they get to, like, stack up the intel every game and, like,
let's say
yes.
For the... Yes.
I think eventually they probably do, but, like, you hear the confidence in my voice on that one. I mean, the what ifs of it all, to your point there, Cody, like, some of it goes so far back that I got to, like, 9:30 on Monday morning and I had the thought, I still can't believe they didn't start Kingsley Suamataia in week 3. Like that, again, I'm not telling you Kingsley would have saved the game in the Super Bowl, but I was really surprised in week 3 when Wanye Morris got the start. They pulled the plug on that experiment so fast. We talked about this a lot down the stretch. I know that I was 60-40 DJ Humphries was sort of my official stance as that entire experiment panned out with Joe Tooney at tackle. And the thing that is baffling to me now, and you're right, DJ Humphries at halftime game was over. It was too far gone. You might as well have tried it just to, I don't know, give the appearance of trying something different, but that wasn't going to help anything. DJ Humphries being installed as the left tackle under a veil of secrecy earlier in the Super Bowl prep might have helped because he is a much better physical matchup for those edge rushers. And the thing that is kind of baffling to me is that in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs had terrible play from both of the positions on the left side of their offensive line. If DJ Humphries would have been terrible, but Joe Thuney would have been Joe Thuney at left guard, they could have just gotten it down to one instance of terrible play on the left side of their offensive line. Like, I think somewhere in there it got a little too cute. You get Andy Reid wanting to stick with what worked. That's kind of been his philosophy on a lot of things, and it's led to a lot of successes at times as well. But the Thuney Caliendo thing always kind of felt like it had an expiration date, which is why they went to Humphries before they ultimately committed to the Thuney thing. I think they should have ultimately, benefit of hindsight, I know I was saying this at the time too, but it worked out okay for a couple weeks. They should have started DJ Humphries in the playoffs. They should have gone back to that after week 18, said, look, this may be a little bit tough at times. It is another weird thing for Patrick Mahomes to have to get used to another tackle in the divisional round of the playoffs, but let's start here and see how it goes. Because going from Humphries Thuney to Thuney Caliendo, they could have done that again, made an adjustment in game if he was getting baptized against Houston. But you get to the Super Bowl, and both of those guys that are in this reworked lineup are absolutely worked over, while Smith has a slightly underwhelming day against Jalen Carter, and Jawan Taylor has a terrible day in his right.
We're talking to Joshua Brisco here on 96.5 The Fan. I'm sure you've heard Travis Kelce's audio from New Heights today. That podcast, we played it to start the show. It sure sounded like a guy to us that is not only contemplating retirement, but maybe even leaning towards retirement. What did you make of that 2 minutes of audio or so?
I'm resisting the urge to overreact to it. I'm not saying you guys are overreacting to it, certainly, but like, I think the most tired that Travis Kelce will ever sound is 2 days after losing a Super Bowl. Like, he does play this long into every season now that he has been playing an absolute ton of football, like he referenced there. What it did for me was make me rethink the idea that maybe if they did complete the three-peat, this would have been an easy walk away for him, that he does kind of acknowledge in that podcast that he felt like a diminished player during stretches of this season, despite still being like a worthy Pro Bowler, by the way. Like in the AFC, it was Brock Bowers and him. He's still useful. He's just not the guy that we've seen him be at his full strength in recent years. But I have to imagine going out like that is a really tough way to walk away. Also, you have to acknowledge that saying I'm coming back doesn't mean he just gets to warp to next year's playoffs. There's a lot of work that goes into getting here, and also no guarantee he gets back to another Super Bowl. Of course, he knows that. I right now still, after the game, I said, again, I'm hammering the 60-40 button on a lot of these fence riding situations, but when he signed that 2-year deal before this season, I really thought that was probably honest, right? Like, that was really the plan, to play those 2 years and then to walk away when they were done. They can move that money around if he does want to continue. He talks all the time about still loving football. He said before the Super Bowl, where do you want to be in 3 years? I hope I'm still playing. He won't be playing in 3 years. That was not entirely true. But I narrowly think we're going to get one more year of Travis Kelce. I've been narrowly on that side pretty much since he signed that deal. But yeah, it's very, very close, and it's why we talk many times throughout these playoffs about appreciating Travis Kelce while you're seeing him, because it could be the last time. Unfortunately, the final act, if that's what it was on Sunday, would be a huge bummer for him to go out that way. So I hope we get one more year of him. I certainly think he's capable of producing one more year of useful, quality football. I also couldn't blame him for a nanosecond if he said, I've accomplished everything I could ever be asked to accomplish, and I've got a lot of life ahead of me. Travis Kelce would deserve that maybe 1 year early walk away. He would deserve that more than anybody.
If he comes back, we know right now it's a $19 million cap hit. Cody and I were discussing this earlier. I think whether obviously if he retires, there is no cap hit. If he comes back, I don't believe it'll be a $19 million cap hit, because I feel like if he's coming back, it's because he believes they can still win a championship. Therefore, they had a dummy year, they had an extra year or whatever to try to alleviate a little bit of the cap hit, don't you think? I'd be stunned if he's actually a $19 million cap hit next year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's right. Now, the Chiefs have really, really tried to avoid those void years. They've tinkered with it once or twice in the last year recently, but it's not something they go to very often. Understandably, it can be bad business at a certain point, but this is the easiest time to do it, and I would prorate it out over 5 years. Do one of the signing bonus things, restructure it, give him the money up front. He gets the money up front. Like, he's not having to wait on that. He can get the money.
But the
right
cap
there,
is till 2030. We Dodgers this thing.
Right. Well, because here's why this is the guy for me. You do have a $20 million cap hit. He's playing one more year of football. There will not be a $5 million dead cap for Travis Kelce and a $10 million live cap hit with, this is really it. It's just, hey, here's a little bit of money the rest of the way. It's your Travis Kelce tax. You underpaid him for more than a decade. You have little bits of Travis Kelce void money throughout the rest of the next few years. I would stretch it however much they feel like they need to. It's also, again, 1 year of $20 million. I would not be advocating doing that for year 6, 7, and 8 to go sign Ronnie Stanley or whatever. This is a very specific instance for Kelce where I think they definitely could and should stretch that.
It's pretty early in the offseason, obviously, so we're not going to have all these answers yet, but because free agency is a month away, and we all know that some way they're going to have to solve left tackle.
Yep.
Whether that be bring DJ Humphries back, which Nate Taylor suggested yesterday, and I threw up in my mouth a little, or if it's moving up in the draft to get a left tackle, or trading for a left tackle who's unhappy with his team, or signing Ronnie Stanley, to your point. Is there some move you think could happen that helps facilitate that? Like, are we missing something in the early going? Should we be keeping an eye out for the guys that are extension candidates that could get traded, like Karlaftis and McDuffie, or Chris Jones, or, what I'm saying? Like, there's these other moves that could take place that maybe facilitate the left tackle that we're not considering yet.
Yeah, so it's a good question. I'm giving it some thought right now, and I don't think that there's an obvious one. There's not like a whole lot of dead cap money free ups. Like Joe Tooney is one of those guys, and it will not be Joe Tooney. Not at the dead cap. I think it's more likely that he also gets a little extension kind of moved around, or just leave him be, and that's perfectly fine. You can keep your cap healthy down the line. I don't think there's really anybody there that would open up that door. I think because the guys that would be opening up that door are, in a way, Trey Smith, Nick Bolton, the guys that you may have to let walk, because they ultimately, obviously, that's not like money coming off the cap. Those are, completing the rookie contracts. But when you look at what the Chiefs are going to be able to do with just the finances, not even the draft pick side, but financially, you have to be able to sort of tier out your plan. You got one more year of Tooney. You could pay Trey Smith and have his number balloon after Jawan Taylor's that you're able to get out from under that deal, but you still haven't solved left tackle. Can you pay left tackle and pay right guard while you're paying right tackle and paying left guard, and you already paid center? I think that the Chiefs have to end up making a couple of belt-tightening moves, much in the same way where Chris Jones was effectively their big free agent signing.
Yeah.
Trey Smith would be their big free agent signing. I don't think you're able to really bring him in and make another huge splash, because he's going to be somebody else's big splash if he doesn't stay with Kansas City. So unless there was something wild, which maybe you're kind of picking at, of like a play for draft picks to give the Chiefs more ammunition to move up in the first round for a tackle or something.
Yes.
I'm curious about that. I don't know who it could be, though. I don't think we're going to see a Karlaftis extension this offseason, and I don't know if they're ever going to end up extending Karlaftis, but I don't think that makes him, like,
expendable,
super tradable.
Yeah.
McDuffie they're going to pay. I don't know.
One other thing before we let you go, as we're talking with Joshua Brisco, our Chiefs contributor here on 96.5 The Fan. Not that there's another Saquon Barkley that's out there, but I think we all would agree they need some more explosiveness out of their running back position. Pacheco will be on this team next year, but is that where you look in the draft, in your opinion, that to go find more of an explosive running back that can be the primary back, and then you have Pacheco as more of a spell next year?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the value. I mean, I had
not first round. I don't want a first round back.
I had a really miserable stretch in 2020 when I was really confident about the Chiefs not doing a thing that would have been objectively silly. But
Oops.
we saw how it played out, and we saw it. But I think they have to add general juice somewhere. I think another playmaker in some form is necessary. I think throwing some numbers at the running back position would also make sense. I was baffled by the strategy coming into this year. Even not at this exact moment last offseason, not knowing about Clyde's kind of off the field stuff, the PTSD and the stomach stuff and all of that, even not knowing any of that as a factor, they went into training camp with Isaiah Pacheco, who, has been banged up and then obviously went on to have an injury. Clyde, who had injury issues just, again, purely between the lines. And you have, it was Keontae Ingram and Deneric Prince and Carson Steele makes the roster. And there were guys that we don't think about anymore who came and went, and they got lucky with Samaje Perine and luckier with Kareem Hunt. They can't go in with as thin of a group as they just had. However they build that out, I'm open to. If they want to spend a little bit of money on a veteran that still has some juice to kind of give them a higher floor than Hunt might have, I'm cool with that. Maybe the veteran, air quotes, with a higher floor is Pacheco, to your point, and you try to find yourself somebody. I would say maybe early day 3 is kind of where I would start looking. I don't think they're going to get any of those game breakers super high up, and I would be a little bit nervous about spending a second or a third rounder on a running back when we kind of are looking around right now, realizing how many holes there are in this roster. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have a lot of stars and a lot of very good players, but this is going to be a really, really important offseason. They can't have many more foul balls, either in free agent signings, contract extensions, or draft picks. They got to get on base here a few times. They don't have to all be home runs, but you can't whiff, certainly. And it's going to be a tight offseason for accomplishing that.
Josh Brisco, Chiefs contributor for 96.5 The Fan. Thanks for coming on throughout the season. I'm sure we'll check in a couple weeks or whatever. A month from now, league year will start, and it'll be good to have you on again. Thanks, man.
I appreciate you guys, all three of you. Thanks for making this easy all year. It's been a lot of fun. And I will let you know, last night in a pit of depression, I fired up MLB The Show 24, and I have begun building the Kansas City Royals into a juggernaut. We're making the three-peat happen on the baseball side. Let's go. I'll figure it out. Thanks, Doug.
There you go. Yeah, definitely, the thought of spring
your Sundays
training.
Are free. What are you going to do now?
Well, I will say that suddenly Sundays
Saturday night
is
free, so more important.
Yeah, and Sundays are wide open. That was going to happen no matter what happened in the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's a weird. That part is a weird. You gained an extra day. You gained an extra day. I'm not even just talking about for us. I'm talking about for everybody. If you're a Chiefs fan, most of your Sundays were dedicated. Yeah, you had the kids' activities; those won't go away. But most of your Sundays were dedicated to watching the Chiefs. Those have opened up.
I did earlier on. We live stream the show. I was in Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I will say earlier on the show, somebody was asking if I had an update because maybe like a week ago, I told you guys that my son was, he's crashing pretty hard on a girl at school, and I told you he had asked me to say I love you to her, and I said that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. You got to earn it. So there's been a 2-day in a row update on this. I thought the listeners would like to know. This is what happened. So Desmond comes back from school 2 days ago, and he says,
"And how old's your son again?"
He's
for people
6.
Okay, yeah.
He's in kindergarten. He comes back and he says, I didn't tell her I love her, but I wrote it on a note on my iPad, which he showed me a picture of. And it was like a rainbow heart, and it said, I love you, and her name. And at that time, he had told me her response was 2 thumbs up and a smile, which he took as a good win.
Yeah.
He was like, this is a win, baby. He was feeling good. He was like, you know what? Feeling good. Yesterday, he comes home, and he tells me that she said, I love you back. And she said, I love you today. So I think we're in love. That's exactly how he said it.
Let's go.
And then I shared a video with the two of you.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
He took my wife's phone. We didn't tell him to go record something. He took my wife's phone and went in a separate room. He's in our kitchen. And he recorded a video in which he's just like,
he really was talking it out.
I know. He's like, she said, I love you. I think maybe this is the best day ever now.
It was great. I told you immediately.
Let's
go. I told you, dude.
So Desmond love continues to bloom. You know?
That is great. It actually leads me right into the trash of the day. So this is perfect. I will say, though, that video you have to save forever. And then when he's 18 or something, you got to, it's so good. Oh, let's get to the trash, though.
Trash of the day.
I'm glad this is perfect. This is perfect because I was going to do trash of the day on something that was yesterday. You know, yesterday is dubbed Red Tuesday. Do you know that? Yesterday was Red Tuesday, the thought being that Valentine's Day is Friday.
Oh,
yesterday was basically, one of the most popular days for breakups every year. The Tuesday before...
It makes sense. You're trying to get out of the Valentine's stuff. You're like, I can't do this Valentine's stuff. I don't even like this person.
A study of 1,200 people found that 36% of people ended a relationship in the week running up to Valentine's Day. A staggering 66% of those opted to part ways on the Tuesday before. A further 27% admitted they simply couldn't bear the guilt of pretending to feel affection on the most romantic day of the year. Also, millennial men led the Red Tuesday breakups, while boomers held steady, accounting for 8% of those calling it quits on the day.
I don't think that, if you don't like the person, doing the whole Valentine's Day thing does kind of seem.
I told you yesterday on the show that made the mistake a couple years ago, started talking to someone like 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, and you got into
2 weeks. You know,
but then you feel
she should not
obligated.
have had any expectation 2 weeks into talking.
But I ended up having to do something for Valentine's Day because I felt guilty.
Yeah, I think you did that, which is fine.
Drew,
flowers aren't going to hurt anything.
You don't have to spoil anything in case your wife is listening. I guess it was for both of you. You know, if you guys got dinner reservations, you doing anything for Valentine's
dinner
Day?
Next weekend.
I've got a plan.
You do? Okay. He's got a plan.
I feel like if you don't have a plan right now, I feel like
you sound excited and confident about it.
Yeah.
But is it a secret plan? You're saying it's so cagey.
Does she know already?
She probably has an idea, I guess, which is she's very good at reading me, which is it's hard for me to actually do a surprise one because I'm bad at keeping surprises because I get too excited.
Is it something you've never done before?
No.
Okay.
No. No.
We'll get dinner next weekend. Valentine's Day is pretty low on our relationship hierarchy of celebratory events. We've been together for a billion years.
I feel like if you're
get a card,
would you still get her something on Valentine's Day?
But it'll be it'll be small. We'll do something very small.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Valentine's Day means a whole lot more if you're dating somebody. If you're married,
I agree.
The anniversary is obviously the number one thing.
Makes sense.
I think Valentine's Day too is also an easy one to take over with kids. You get your kids little chocolates, and they hand out the little Valentines to their friends at school. That kind of thing. Oh, by the way, that's a great follow-up on Desmond. He had asked if he could give a Valentine to Sophia. I said, well, you got to give it to everybody in class. Yeah. He's like, okay, but can I get her chocolates? And I said, dead serious. He asked us without being prompted. I said, dude, you can't.
Desmond, all right, player.
You're not allowed to just give other kids chocolates.
Oh, my goodness.
He's a romantic,
know? Hold on. Have you ever told a woman that I love? How often have you said I love you to somebody, or have you not said it? I guess.
Yeah, no, that was the issue in the last relationship.
We talked about this.
That was the issue in the last relationship. That fact that I did not say that soon enough. That was part of the problem.
She would have given you 2 thumbs up, maybe. I don't know.
Two thumbs up. Yeah, I would have got the exact same reaction actually. 2
Win's
thumbs up, and be like, I'll take it.
A win is a win.
No.
He's going to have to be apart from her today. Who knows what can happen in a day in kindergarten relationships, Yeah,
but unfortunately for him, got to be prepared. He comes back to school on Friday, and all of a sudden, it's over. So
it's over. I once somebody asked if they'd hold my hand on the bus, and I said okay. Her name was Sarah. I held her hand on the bus for a whole week in 6th grade, and then her friend had told me, she's like, Sarah doesn't want to be together anymore. I'm like, we'll be together. She just asked me to hold hands on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
We're 5th grade, 6th grade, or something. You're like, okay, I don't care.
That is
no. We'll all survive.
That is the trash of the day. Will you please also respond to this guy on the text side?
Sorry.
He's asked,
it's not mine. It's a rental car.
Yeah, he's asked 5 times today, what year is your Mustang? It's Cody's rental.
It is a 2024.
Okay, there you go. John, there's your answer, man. There's your answer.
I missed that, John.
Top down today, Cody? No?
Top down today? How much would you guys give me $10 if I
drive all the way home,
and I'll have the phone recording somewhere else so people can just look at you like you're just nuts. Like, is this person crazy?
The looks you would get would be incredible.
With the top
other
down?
thing too would be the problem is a car in front of you, like the snow is flying back from the wheels.
That's what makes it fun.
All inside your car, though.
Pepper sprayed with
all inside
snow.
the car. Because it's not that it's snowing anymore, but you would just get all the slush,
the drift snow.
Anyway, all right. Up next, Chiefs Red Half Hour. Let's talk more about one thing we learned again that you still don't have enough of if you're Kansas City, and it's not just the offensive line. We're going to actually look on the other side of the ball.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
If you're in need of a midweek boost, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has you covered with the Hump Day Parlays Reward Stack. Now, every Wednesday, you can get parlay profit boosts on everything from spreads to over-unders and even player props. So you don't want to let the weekend have all the fun. Take advantage of the Hump Day Parlay Reward Stack. Who knows? In fact, you might just become your favorite day with the Hump Day Parlays Reward Stack in the FanDuel app. To find your profit boost, look for that or visit FanDuel.com/Alex. That's FanDuel.com/Alex. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Max wager amount applies. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms for both offers at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most of us, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. ED is a relationship destroyer. It can contribute to depression, distancing, conflicts, and even breakups and divorce. And what's so disturbing about this is that most men who suffer with ED can be successfully treated, but a lot of guys don't seek treatment when they should. At Heartland Men's Health, we have protocols that are effective in well over 90% of cases. In fact, if you're like most guys, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment and maybe find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices, Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
Attention lovebirds. Valentine's Day is almost here, and Diamonds Direct has the gifts to wow your special someone. From dazzling diamonds and trending gold to vibrant gemstones, pearls, even timepieces. With hundreds of stunning styles under $1,000 and an exquisite collection of one-of-a-kind luxury pieces. Make your moment unforgettable. The best selection, value, and service are waiting for you. Make this Valentine's unforgettable with fine jewelry for every budget. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
This Valentine's Day, fall in love with Hy-Vee. The classic dozen roses, just $19.99. Avoid the restaurant hassle and treat your Valentine to a home-cooked meal featuring bacon-wrapped filet, salad, bakery fresh baguette, twice-baked potatoes, vegetable, and dessert for just $35 a couple. Top it off with your favorite bottle of wine or spirits from Hy-Vee's wide selection. One stop makes this Valentine's Day the sweetest ever, only at Hy-Vee.
I love Hy-Vee for so many different reasons, but one of the things I love most about Hy-Vee is their customer service. Everyone that works at Hy-Vee is awesome. And you know what else I love about Hy-Vee? I don't have to sacrifice quality and service to get low prices. Hy-Vee just dropped the price on thousands of items in every aisle, in every department, on items I buy every day, both in-store and online. Hy-Vee even match prices with the nation's biggest discount stores. So check out Hy-Vee today and get those low prices only at Hy-Vee.
Right now, get up to a $15 gift card after rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where TurboTax Expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. That's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. Here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They'll come back between visits to make it right. Don't wait. Head to TrueGreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go.
The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 16. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up and chasing down.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. Simply Free is available to a limited number of taxpayers. See TaxSlayer.com for eligibility.
When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
It is the Chiefs Red Half Hour here on Cody and Gold. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday, whether you're staying at home, listening on the Odyssey app, watching the video stream, or you are out and about working, and in some cases keeping everybody else safe out there, getting the roads cleared up as the snow starts to move out of the area here very, very soon. You can hit us up on the Jay Southland Tow Service text line. I'm sure they have been very busy in the last 12 hours or so. 913-586-7965.
Quick question over on Twitch for Drew before we get into the Chiefs Red Half Hour, since we were all talking about Valentine's Day. So, Drew, do you have plans for what your neighbors might be enjoying during Valentine's Day? And plans in order to handle that appropriately?
Oh, yeah. Has that happened recently?
I'm not going to answer because I don't want to jinx anything, you know?
So, no. Wow.
Oh. Cold spell.
Maybe they broke up.
Maybe they're on the rocks.
Maybe they broke up.
No idea.
Have you? We still never found out who they were. Like, you still never seen
You've
them.
never seen them? Yeah.
No. Floor above me. There is no reason for me to go up to the fourth floor of my apartment complex.
I mean, kind of.
There's one reason.
It kind of is. You should drop off one of those like heart boxes with the chocolates in it, Russell Stover's. Just drop one off and set it on their front door and leave a note.
He's not trying to encourage this behavior.
Also, why would I spend my money for them? I don't want to take care of his business. I'm going to get one of those for my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to help him out.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearly, maybe now he does need help. I don't know.
I'm not wishing them a happy Valentine's Day. You know,
don't you believe in love? You know,
I already have it. Yes, of course.
Don't you want it for others? Just you? That's very selfish.
No, okay. There are two people maybe that I wish love for. It's myself and then Desmond. I hope that Desmond continues to do his thing.
He's trying, man.
Oh my goodness.
We'll see how it continues.
Yeah. So this is where we give you a don't forget Friday's Valentine's Day thing. Bink might be in tomorrow. I think he'll be in Friday for sure, filling in. So he'll have some Valentine's Day hot takes coming your way. I cannot wait. Cannot wait to hear those. Drew, have fun with that on Valentine's Day.
I know.
Bink might be in with me tomorrow, though. And so we'll have some fun leading up to that as well. Let's talk some Chiefs football, though, because I don't want to talk O-line right now because I think we've talked a lot about that, and we will continue over the next couple weeks and months ahead and what their offseason plan is going to be. Brisco brought up Karlaftis, and he doesn't think that ultimately he'll get an extension, not just this offseason, but he thinks he just won't get one, period. You look at the defensive line, not that it's got to be assembled like the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? Chris Jones is still under contract. Aminiu's a free agent.
I mean, it'd be cool if it was.
Well, sure. Turk Wharton's a free agent. Mike Dana's back. Karlaftis is back. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is back. The defensive front, is it good? Like, is that good enough? Is that an area?
No.
Here's the.
The answer's almost always
you
no.
say
but
no. The issue there is, I think we would admit, they've devoted a ton of resources recently on defense, and if we're agreeing that they need to pivot more and get more explosive on offense, I don't think you can improve the defensive line this
So you're just counting on Chris Jones to save the day again with George Karlaftis?
Well,
can you at least bring a Minihue back?
Well, I think that would be somebody I'd be very interested in bringing back, although based on his reaction on the sideline, I wonder if he thinks he's not going to be back. I'm talking about during the Super Bowl.
He's very upset.
And doesn't mean you can't draft one. Doesn't mean you can't draft somebody in one of the mid-rounds. So much of this will be dictated. Do they find their tackle in the draft or free agency or via a trade? Because if they don't have to use draft assets, although I find it hard to believe, but draft assets to get a left tackle, well then, I don't think it'd be crazy for them to spend one of their top 2 picks on a defensive line.
I think the top pick would be on the defensive line. This is always the issue with specifically those 2 positions, left tackle and now what we're talking about, defensive line. In order to build it the way the Eagles have built it, you have to draft them over and over and over and over and over again. It's not that there's no free agents. It's not that there's not a free agent or 2 free agents on their line. It's that a huge chunk of them are available to themselves via the NFL draft. And because, and this is not meant to be a knock, but because Felix Anudike-Uzomah hasn't developed into a real pass rusher to this point, if he had, this wouldn't even be a topic on the show today. That's the truth. If he had just developed into a Charles Minihue level or slightly below that level pass rusher, I'm probably not kicking this around. And instead, I'm telling you, hey, you still got Dan under contract. You got Chris Jones. You got at least 2 more years of Karlaftis because you get the final year of his rookie deal plus the 5th-year option. Okay, you do that. Now Felix is ready to step in and take more roles. Hey, probably okay. You take another one, maybe the 2nd or 3rd, because in every draft, you should probably take someone on the defensive line every single year and hope that you find the absolute dude. But when you take a 1st-round pick and they don't turn into a qualified pass rusher, then you're in the, do you spend the free agency money, which you almost never can, or do you go back to the draft? This is why this draft is going to be so hard for them, because the answer is yes. They do not have a dominant enough defensive line. No, I don't think just be like, make it the Eagles. I said that's the same as saying, well, just get Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Let's get an elite-level quarterback. Way easier said than done. Deeper, though, they can definitely do that through the draft by getting guys, because pass rushers can work up immediately. Good pass rushers can work immediately.
Yeah, if Karlaftis, about 8 weeks into his rookie year, you started to see the switch flip for him, and he started to look like a dynamic pass rusher for this organization. But again, so much of this is going to depend on what they do to start the league year, and then who do they not bring back? If they don't bring back Trey Smith, and if they don't bring back Nick Bolton, and let's say Kelce were to retire, okay, well then that's a lot of money that's not, well, 2 of them aren't on the books because they're not under contract. One of them would just not be on the books because he would retire. Talking about Kelce, obviously, the $19 million cap hit. So that allows them potentially some more flexibility, but also it leaves a hole unless you think Kingsley slides into guard on offense. Okay, then you don't have to spend any draft resource on a guard potentially, and you can then say, all right, now we know we have that taken care of. Where do we allocate money versus draft capital? And I think unless you count bringing back somebody like Charles Minihue or Turk Warden,
you're not saying go and
I
find
don't think they're going to
the biggest free agent.
No, look, can they bring back some quote unquote random free agent defensive end or
Javon
something?
Kinlaw's a free agent,
whatever, right? They're not going to get the number 1 guy on the market. I'm not advocating for that, but the tackle is priority, and so once they get the Trey Smith stuff figured out, then they'll know what kind of money they can allocate, and whether or not they like any of the tackles in free agency. I'm not all that interested in the names, but I mean, somebody's playing left tackle for this football team next year. We would all love for it to be a young franchise left tackle. Of course. That's probably not, in fact, not probably, it's not at 31. That guy's not there at 31.
It's at the latest 15?
I think so.
What do you think the latest you can get a tackle that you feel confident can start day one? In this draft, it sounds like it's 15. In some drafts, it might be 20, but in this draft, it sounds like it's between 10 and 15.
Just to make it easy, top 15. Even if it might be 12, I don't know, but let's say top 15, yeah. So is that, are the players that are warranting that kind of selection this year, are they warranting it because it's a weak draft class, or is it because you think they're one of those special dudes? Because if you trade up from 31 and mortgage the future on those picks, and you can say, hey, it's time to do that, okay, it's fair. But if you swing and miss on that bad boy, then you're just devastated even more. There's one thing to miss on pick 31, Cody. Yeah. One thing to miss on pick 31 in round 2, with Kingsley now maybe being a guard instead of a tackle. You miss on pick 12, pick 15 at left tackle.
Because you had to use other assets to go. But I'll tell you, it's way less likely to miss at left tackle at that spot. This is what I talk about all the time, like with quarterback or what, like, and you mentioned at 31. It's easy to take a quarterback at 63 or whatever the hell they took Kingsley Suamataia and miss. Super easy to miss there. That's a common area to miss. I don't even blame Brett Veach for being like, how did you not know that guy wasn't a star? That's an easy spot to miss. You're taking him at the 60s for a reason. A billion other teams have an opportunity to take him up to that point and didn't. I did go through ESPN's very quick current list, and they don't have a tackle going until 10. And Josh Simmons on their big board.
From Ohio State.
Then Josh Conley Jr. at 13 and Will Campbell at 14 and Kelvin Banks at 16. So they're pretty much telling you there's 4 guys that are worthy of first-round grades, and they're all just kind of lumped into one big mess
And there might
together.
be separation after the combine. Who knows, right? There might be more of a clear-cut top tackle. But that's what I'm saying is I'm not anti-trading up. It's time for them, of course, to find a long-term answer and spend the resources for it. But
another thing
you don't want
to
reach for it. Just be like, just to say we went up and we tried. I know some people are like, that's all I want them to do, but it has to be a top tackle because he's a top tackle, not just because in the 2025 draft he's a top tackle. Where would that guy have stacked up last year? Would he have been a second rounder last year, or is he actually a first rounder? And I'm not saying that they're not first round talents, but that's something you would have to be pretty darn certain about. And there'll be the consensus opinion. You know how this goes. Like every organization has their own draft board and everything, but there will be a consensus about who the number 1 or number 2 tackle is. Or if you don't, maybe there's not a consensus on the number 1 tackle. You agree that he's a number 2 if he's not number 1. And okay, either one of those guys, I will mortgage multiple picks to go move up if that's what it's going to be.
We could probably just have Drew start looking at their arm lengths now. You can get us the arm lengths for all the available tackles, Drew. Very important.
Gosh, are we already there?
That came up on Sunday.
Dude, they lost. If they won, I wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be in a parade right now.
I know, but are we already on the arm length discussion?
That came up in Sunday's Super Bowl pregame show with Bink. Bink was talking about extended arm lengths before the game on Sunday.
Well, it ended up mattering because Joe Tooney's not long enough arms in order to block Josh Sweat.
Because he's not a left tackle. He's a guard.
No, that's why he brought it up.
That man's a hero. He did whatever he could to try to survive. Did he lose in the final battle? Yeah. But he wasn't supposed to be in that battle in the first place. It'd be like a middleweight guy being in 5 straight heavyweight fights, and then, oh no, he lost a championship bout. He's a middleweight. He's not supposed to be fighting the heavyweights.
The good thing is that it seems like they don't have to go up to 6 where Joe Alt was taken last year in order to actually get a left tackle that, if they feel is caliber enough, they can get into the teens and try to give themselves a shot. How high was Trent McDuffie? Was he
21?
Yeah. So he was still 20s then. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They haven't got any. I mean, I can't even tell
That's
you
the most they've traded up.
That. Is that the highest they picked up in 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, they traded up. They traded up, of course, with Buffalo for Mahomes. But
I do think, in terms of the trading thing, I'm sure we'll get into it more as we get closer to the draft and everything with possible scenarios. But depending on what you have to trade or feel like you need to trade. Not that you're banking the dynasty on it, but if you give up enough or it includes a player of some kind to get the left tackle and you miss, then you take a shot at yourselves heavily in terms of the not dynasty talk, because you can still go on and win, but if you give up an asset and picks and you still miss, you're really setting yourselves back.
This is where
I wouldn't trade a player and picks to move up. No. I think the only way they move up in the draft is if they're trading picks to move up. I know we're talking about tomorrow, and I know the morning show was discussing it, and we'll talk about tomorrow more, but I don't think they're trading Chris Jones or Trent McDuffie or I think Dusty mentioned Rashee Rice this morning or something. I don't think they're trading those players to get picks to then use those same picks to trade up even more. That would be as aggressive as we've ever seen.
That's a heavy risk.
You better be damn sure that left tackle's good.
Yeah.
Because the other guys are good. This is where I go back on Brett Veach.
And player for player trades isn't the NBA. The idea of I can trade Trent McDuffie for a starting left tackle. This isn't the NBA. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Him for Micah doesn't usually occur in the NFL perception. I'm just going back because I understand the initial gut reaction of all right, let's bury anybody who we already thought was screwing something up. Like Brett Veach hasn't done a good job at left tackle. And then let's bury him to be we've always overrated them. Which I just don't think is factually true. Here's how, and look, some of this is his own doing. Some of it is because they didn't have a first-round pick after they traded for Patrick Mahomes. In the drafts, since Brett Veach has become the GM, they did not have a first-round pick in his first year as a GM. They did not have a first-round pick in his second year as a GM. He picked 32nd in his third year. Did not have a first round pick again in his fourth year. Picked 21 and 30. So the times he actually had one. Picked 31 and 28. Like half of the time he hasn't even had a first round pick. And the highest he has picked is 21. Other than that, he's picked 28 or later with every other first round pick. That's a hard way to do business. I'll go through Howie Roseman's, and I'm not going to read through the numbers, but I've gone through Howie Roseman's. He's got to pick 9 through 20 multiple times during that same run. I know it's easy because I think it's fair. Like, I don't know if he needs a consultant. He needs someone to help him with left tackle. And I think part of this is because for the same reason we talk about with quarterback, it's not an easy position to find. Right now in the NFL, they have an offensive line problem. They do not have enough good offensive linemen for every team in the league. And across the board, the offensive lines are pretty weak. But he has now had 5 different starting left tackles for Patrick Mahomes in 5 Super Bowl appearances. That ain't going to work anymore. I'll take the regular one. That's part of the reason we're like, I could talk myself into Ronnie Stanley. It's like the Alex Smith of quarterbacks, but at left tackle. At least if he plays, it's a stabilizing force.
Yeah, so they don't have to draft a Hall of Famer, okay, or sign a Hall of Fame. You would love that.
Cool.
That's not what's required. I don't think anybody's suggesting that that's what they have. They have to go find their Trent Williams. No, you would love to find that guy, but that's not realistic, and they don't need to do that. They need to get – I used the comparison earlier. They need like their Eric Fisher. Really solid left tackle. Not a Hall of Famer. Really solid left tackle, even though people trashed him for whatever reason at times throughout his career because they didn't like that he was the top pick in the draft in a crappy draft. Not his fault. Okay, he got drafted where he got drafted.
In retrospect, in that draft,
ended up being a
pretty good pick.
Exactly. At the time, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" And look at the other tackle. How did his career turn out?
Luke Jokel?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the other one?
Jacksonville.
I can't believe I remember
that's exactly
that
right.
name.
Good pull, Cody. Good pull. Yeah,
that's not usually my strength.
That's a good pull. No, so yeah, they don't have to find the best tackle in the last decade. You got to find whether it's draft or free agency. The only thing with Ronnie Stanley that would worry me a little bit, and I understand what you're saying, is you can have average or above average play at left tackle and say, okay, that might even be good enough. He has to be able to play. He turns 31 in March or May. I looked it up the other day. Yeah, March or May. Can he play enough games, man? He played 17 this year. You'll say, okay.
Yeah.
13,
he did not rate well.
13, 11, 1, 6. That was the years before. That scares me quite a bit.
It should.
You know, now this year he was a Pro Bowler. He played in 17. All that, like that's all true.
In retrospect, they made a mistake telling Orlando Brown Jr. to kick rocks.
Ronnie Stanley started to get hurt right when they moved on from
I know,
from
but
Orlando Brown.
Look, retrospect is the evil of all sports, most likely, but in retrospect, given the 2 choices, they should have moved on from Ronnie Stanley. He hasn't played.
Always depending on the contract and stuff, do I want to sign a tackle that's going to be 31 and can't stay healthy? And you'll say, well, DJ Humphries is that as well. Well, they signed him mid-season, a little bit different. He wasn't their first plan. If your first plan is Ronnie Stanley,
you better have a backup plan.
And look, there's no move you make that doesn't have risk. I'm not trying to act like there's always this foolproof signee and nothing can go wrong. That's not the reality of the NFL. But that would be my hesitation. Like, if they signed Ronnie Stanley, I wouldn't call it the worst signing ever. I just would be really, really nervous that he can make it through another back-to-back 17-game seasons and more. In Kansas City, it's more than 17.
There seems to be a lot.
It's 19. It's 20.
You have to do draft because Jawan Taylor's gone in 2 years anyway. So you need if he's a failed left tackle to still be able to be, he's a right tackle. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, just based on the number of years remaining, they're going to have to solve the other tackle spot at some point here in the very, very, very near future. You kind of have to draft a tackle. Even if you're like, he's a second-round guy and we're hoping he's a left tackle, but if he's a right tackle, oopsie, he's Jawan Taylor's replacement in a year or two.
It seems like from the text line, and a lot of people are kind of questioning Andy Heck in terms of like his ability to actually develop offensive linemen. Of course, when you draft a guy in the second round, you know, it tends to be a bit hit or miss anyways because you're relying on a second-round pick or whatever one it was, a third-round pick, you know, to potentially start for you. But I think that kind of does beg the question. I wonder if you would be willing, if you signed Ronnie Stanley, do you still draft a left tackle in the first round and you start Ronnie?
Yes.
And that left tackle that you drafted in the first round might be talented enough to play by the end of the season, but you cover your bases where he doesn't have to feel the pressure of starting right away. He can sit behind Ronnie, learn from a guy who has made Pro Bowls, and then be ready either middle of the season or at some point to actually start for you.
Or you hope he's so much better that he just wins the job. And like the Heck stuff, this is where like you guys get too far in the weeds looking for some scapegoat instead of looking at the obvious. Nobody's saying anything about the level of play he gets out of Creed Humphrey, or has gotten out of Joe Tooney, or has gotten out of Trey Smith.
Yeah.
Here
You know how
are
this
the
goes, though. People will just overreact.
All right, here's where the tackles have been taken for Andy Heck to work with. Pick 63 for Kingsley. Pick 92 for Wanye. The previous high to that was 145 with Darian Kennard. I'm sorry. I'm still going back for another offensive tackle. I'm in 15. Okay, so it doesn't matter. They've taken 3. They've taken 3 offensive tackles since 2015. I'm not going any further back than that. I kind of refuse. 3 offensive tackles since 2015 in the NFL draft. Okay? And they were taken in the second round. Kingsley was the earliest at 63. Andy Heck can't just compress dirt and turn it into diamonds. And I'm not saying that some of these guys haven't been like valuable NFL players, but just to being like, hey, Andy, I don't want you to just coach up every 5th round pick we take and turn him into a starting left tackle. That's just kind of an unrealistic model of success. They've given him no chance to develop an offensive tackle because, as you and I have said, at pick 32, where you normally take one, you're like, not worth it. And so you end up taking him in the 90s because that's the next spot where at least the value makes sense.
Well, that also, when you're in the middle of a championship run, in this case, a three-peat, and maybe on another team that the bar was, even though every team says their goal, of course, every year is to win the Super Bowl, there's some teams that we just have no chance to do that. If you were on a team that was trending towards a 4-win season, maybe you would have just thrown Kingsley back out there and said, let's just it's ugly, but we're just going to let him develop. We don't have $1 billion quarterback in our franchise on the line. We don't care. We've got a veteran that, frankly, we don't really care long-term about. That's not what you were in position to do in Kansas City. Otherwise, Kingsley probably would have played more, even though it was bad, and it was very bad. In this organization, I think they've already shown us they're pivoting him towards a guard, that he's the replacement for either Tooney or Trey Smith. So that's where...
That's fine. If he's a really good guard, who cares?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I think it's trending, man.
Yeah. At 63, that's fine with me. If he's Trey Smith's replacement and he's the starting guard for 17 games, sorry. Too used to saying 16.
I know, I got you. I do it all the time.
17 games for an entire season, well, then the pick's not all that
he
bad.
He doesn't even have to be Trey Smith. He can just be serviceable. Keep him upright.
It's a tough position. Like, if we did this at quarterback, if I told you that over 10 years, right? Because I said 2015. Over 10 years, a franchise had taken 3 quarterbacks to try to be the franchise quarterback. And they took them at 63, 92, and 135. What do you think the success rate would be for any coach? I don't care if you got God's gift of quarterback coaching. What do you think they'd be? Like, not very good, most likely. Maybe you get the diamond in the rough. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes guys, as we mentioned, like Ronnie Stanley, are starting NFL players for a number of years out of the 3rd round. But, like, that's not a common success area. That's all.
Up next, we will get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold, and then we'll hear what Travis Kelce had to say, and it's about as honest as you'll ever hear a player talking about their future in the NFL.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Alex Gold here, once again thinking about the amazing folks at Max Motors. 7 locations throughout Kansas and Missouri. And I'm thinking about them because of this cold weather, right? And I know if you don't have a 4x4 vehicle, that the snowstorms that we still are going to end up having can be a pain. It's hard to navigate, get to your location, your work, your normal routine that you have to deal with. Think about having a brand new 4x4 vehicle. And right now at Max Motors, where they offer the best financing options in the Midwest with the max trade-in values, well, you can get into a new 2024 Ram 2500, which is right now up to $17,000 off MSRP. Stock number BF7880. Or a new 2024 Jeep Compass 4x4, starting at $22,995. Stock number 90144. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 3/3/25. And if you're considering trading in a vehicle, well, Max Motors is the best place to go for that as well, because they have the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
GiveMeTheVin.com salutes Honest Abe, one of the most endeared American statesmen who won the Civil War, abolished slavery, and crafted the lines of the famous Gettysburg Address. Abraham Lincoln was born near Hodgenville, Kentucky on this day in 1809. Getting an honest trade-in for your car is near impossible with retail car dealerships. Make sure you get the market's top dollar and a process that's AAA plus rated by the BBB at GiveMeTheVin.com, America's best car buyer.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com.
are a ton of ways to kick off your day. Gym grind, endless scroll, or snooze button life. But McDonald's has a deal that levels up your morning above the rest. Now at McDonald's, mix and match your choice of a fluffy sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles and sizzly sausage McMuffin with egg for just $5. With a deal this fire, there's no better way to upgrade your mornings than with a delicious breakfast. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Pheasants Forever's National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic is coming to the Kansas City Convention Center this March 7th through the 9th. Join us for puppy and dog training seminars, a youth village for kids, pollinator and wildlife habitat hunting gear in the 20th anniversary of Quail Forever. It's National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic the weekend of March 7th. Presented by Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, and Federal Ammunition. For more information, log on to pheasantfest.org.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC homebuyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting-edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
With Target, checking off your Valentine's Day list has never been easier. First, surprise your favorite people with something extra thoughtful, like a soothing candle in a memorable scent, or a decorative picture frame to show off every moment. Both buy one, get one 50% off with Target Circle. And don't forget to treat yourself. Find the sweetest style for your special occasion with 20% off women's dresses now through Friday. This week, find Valentine's gifts for everyone you love, only at Target.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi. Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more. The best from the PGA Tour, split into 16. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up and chasing down.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. Simply Free is available to a limited number of taxpayers. See TaxSlayer.com for eligibility.
When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is the all-new 96.5 The Fan, your new home for Royals baseball. KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
Number one on What's Trending, of course, is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Number one centers around Travis Kelce. We're going to talk about this more after What's Trending, but he was on his New Heights podcast and was about as honest as you will ever hear a player talking about the possibility of retirement, right? And acknowledging that he's going to need some time to weigh kind of everything involved. He thinks he can play, but whether or not, it sounds like he wants to play. And so we'll play the entire cut so you can hear it. It's like 2 minutes long, so I'm not going to play right here. But he said, quote, "I'm going to take some time to figure it out. I think I owe it to my teammates that if I do come back, that it's going to be a wholehearted decision, and I'm not half-assing it, and I'm fully here for them."
Next up on What's Trending, pitchers and catchers report today in Surprise, Arizona. So yeah, Royals spring training officially underway. Couple of notes. This is usually what happens. Pitchers come in and then they tell you who's going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit for the start of training camp. Alec Marsh had right shoulder tightness in the offseason, so he is throwing but might be delayed in facing hitters for training or for spring training this year. And James MacArthur, who we knew because he had a big brace on for multiple of the wedding photos, had elbow surgery to place 2 screws and stabilize a fracture in his arm over the season. So he is just now starting his throwing program, but he will also be delayed going into spring training. So those guys, maybe they'll be available by the end of spring training. Marsh, it sounds like, will be. But the ramp will be a little bit slower, and it puts Marsh behind the opportunity to win the 5th rotation spot from the rest of the competition.
But if you think, they brought back Michael Lorenzen for a reason, too. I mean, we think about the rotation of Reagans, Lugo, and Waka, 1, 2, 3.
Which I kind of thought was going to be 4.
Most likely, I think. Yeah. And then Lorenzen maybe opens up as your 5th, or is your 5th. And then you just kind of go from there. And there will be other injuries during the season that suddenly one of these guys gets back in the rotation. As far as MacArthur goes, they might as well just take their time on the elbow surgery that he had this offseason. I still think it'll be interesting to see how he pitches this year, because we all know with Ursag and then also the signing of Estevez that they're not going to ask him to be in those high-pressure roles as much. So him as a middle reliever, it wouldn't surprise me if he's
an occasional 6th inning guy.
If he's way more effective.
The Army rises again. The infantry rises.
They are.
Banter will be
he's just not the. He's just not the first infantry that goes right there. He's not. Everything else.
He's a frontline soldier now. He's not the. It's not the back of it. That's at least tough on that end.
Yeah.
I will say, based on MLB's Twitter page alone, the hardest grinder at all of training camp is our guy Vinny Pasquantino. We got his little look at the crib style video he said he shot. Might have to play that later in the show. It's pretty funny.
Next up on What's Trending, college basketball. How about the Kansas State Wildcats? They won another one. This time over ranked Arizona, 73-70. They've won 6 in a row. They sit at 13-11. We were talking before the show. We'll dive into this more in the 1 o'clock hour. What's the path look like for them to get in the tourney? They dug themselves a massive hole. They've got, 6 games or so left. They still have Iowa State. If you run the table and you get to 19-11 or 20-11, something like that,
that should be good enough with those wins.
Then you need win 1 game. Let's say you don't win out and you drop 2. You got to get to the finals of the Big 12 championship. Anyway, we'll talk more about this. But they've at least put them in play to where it's not impossible to. It still is a lot of work to do. But to their credit, they look like a completely different team today.
They were dead body and cold 2 weeks ago.
4 of those 6 wins are against ranked opponents too.
Yeah. No, they're the hottest team in college basketball. That includes the teams that are at the top of the league, and Auburn and others. They're the hottest team in college basketball, without question.
Also, last night in Lawrence, KU beat Colorado 71-59 at Allen Fieldhouse. Cody was not in attendance for his Buffaloes, so they lost.
I guess I should have put
Dusty missed out, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true. You guys are both Colorado backers.
He's just a prime backer. There's a difference. Next up on What's Trending, Anthony Rendon had surgery and is expected to have hip surgery and now a setback in his rehab. Timeline to return is unclear. He still has 3 years left on that deal. He's owed trillions of dollars, I think, from the Angels. It ends up being one of the worst big league signings there's been in a couple years back. He's a third baseman. They're saying no timeline for his return. He could be out a huge chunk of the season again.
He signed a 7-year, $245 million
He used to be an automatic fantasy baseball
contract
selection.
He
Do yourself a favor and look up his stats. That was a bleak
So this
sight.
year, $38 million. Next year, $38 million. Then he's done. At least it's not 5 more years remaining. Now he hasn't done anything just since he's gotten paid. But like, I will say, it's not like he's 35 already. This is why. But he's been injured the last 2 years.
He had one good year for the Angels in his very first year. For all that money you just paid, he hit .242 with a .369 slug. Oh my God. A .369 slug and 22 home runs. He has been a very, 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 very bad baseball player.
$38 million this year, $38 million next year. Overall, he'll make cash, $228 million out of this thing.
My
His career, he's already at $240 million.
His OPS was .667 last year. Or, I'm sorry, for the last 4 years in a row. Ugh.
Lastly, on What's Trending, the Ohio State has announced they have finalized a deal.
You don't have to say the Ohio State.
I just did that to see if you would react, to bring in Matt Patricia to the
That's
Ohio State to be their defensive coordinator.
That's a downgrade.
Of course, Al Golden, Al Golden is now in Cincinnati. So
Jim Knowles was their coordinator who went to Penn State.
And he went to Penn State. That's what's weird. Is like a lot. So you had Al Golden leave. You had Jim Knowles move over to Penn State. So it's just weird movement in the defensive coordinator world.
It's a downgrade for sure.
Probably don't want to work for Ryan Day anymore. That guy seems like he sucks as a person.
That's what's trending.
Dang.
Here on Cody and Gold. Up it. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour.
Does that soften it?
Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, will join us. We'll get his perspective. I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl anymore with him. I want to talk bigger picture stuff with Verderame here on a Wednesday. Of course, it's the lunch hour on a Wednesday. Jefferson's our official lunch partner here at 96.5 The Fan. Pretty soon you can catch every game for the Royals and others and everything like that. We had a great time watching them in the postseason and everything. That is going to be the spot to go witness every moment at a restaurant that's proudly local. Visit Jefferson's in Lenexa or up in North KC. Cody, your neck of the woods.
Yeah, real close.
Jefferson's Wings, Burgers, Oysters.
We've done a couple
we had some good wings last week, man. Corn nuggets and everything.
Hit the spot. And, that's obviously the North Kansas City ones where we used to do our toy drive.
That's right. That's where we've done our guillotine league.
But every
draft.
time we tried to schedule the toy drive, it was like a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So
I'll say we'll do the
made.
guillotine league again next year, and we've been rotating. And next year, I think the draft will be at the Lenexa location.
I believe so.
Because we were up in North KC when all of a sudden, it was a complete downpour. That was also the night that Michael Lorenzen got hurt, I think.
Yeah, and do you remember the one time when it was just like
the game was super delayed?
There was just soot in the sky, and everyone's car was covered in ash.
Yes, there's a fire somewhere.
The guillotine league draft's got a weird energy to it. I don't know what it is. Also, is it my year to win?
You're up, man.
Yeah.
Drew's won. I've won.
Drew won the year before. My turn?
I mean, it's a listener's turn is what it is. Let's be real. It's time for a listener to win this thing.
We're getting good.
We got plenty of time to gear up for that one, but I can promise you already, we will do a guillotine league next August as well, but we got some time. Got some time on that thing. Let's get back into Travis Kelce a little bit. We mentioned the New Heights podcast during What's Trending. So everybody's been waiting for this decision. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer, as it sounds like he's going to take some time, as he should, to decide what his future is. He's got a year left on this contract, $19 million cap hit. He was talking with his brother Jason, and I would imagine he's leaned on him a little bit too throughout this process. This is about as honest as you're going to ever hear a professional athlete prior to making a decision on their future talk about all the things they are really considering.
I know everybody wants to know whether or not I'm playing next year, and right now I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can down the road, and I'm not making any crazy decisions, but right now the biggest thing is just being there for my teammates and being there for my coaches, understanding, that there's a lot that goes into this thing. I've been fortunate over the past 5-6 years. I've played more football than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's because of the people that are in that building and the fact that we keep going to these AFC championships and these Super Bowls. And that means I'm playing an extra 3 games more than everybody else in the entire league. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And it's a lot of time spent in the building. Focusing on your craft, focusing on the task at hand, every challenge that you set up for yourself. And it's that process can be grueling. It can weigh on you. It can make you better, and it can drive you crazy at the same time. And right now it's one of those things where it was kind of driving me crazy this year. And I think that it happens as you kind of tail off towards the back 9 of your career, as SVP would say, is, it's, as you see yourself or not feel yourself have the success that you once used to have, man, it's a tough pill to swallow. And then on top of that, to not be there in the biggest moments, knowing your team's counting on you, man. Those are all extremely hard things to. It's just a tough reality, and I think I'm going to take some time to figure it out, and I think I owe it to my teammates that if I do come back, that it's going to be something that it's a wholehearted decision. I'm not half-assing it, and I'm fully here for them, and I think I could play. It's just whether or not I'm motivated or it's the best decision for me as a man, as a human, as a person to take on all that responsibility.
So that's from the New Heights podcast. He laid it all out there, though. I mean, he laid out all the elements. He admitted that there were times where it was driving him crazy, like just going through the grind of all of it. That happened.
Just trying to get to the finish line.
And I still think when a player and in life, if you are in any job, like whatever you do for a living, and it's hard to make comparisons to professional athletes. Their earnings window is so much shorter, but obviously the money we're talking about is also a lot different. But when you are already saying it out loud, that like essentially you might be burned out, or it's driving you crazy, or whatever. A lot of times, if you were in a normal job, you would say it's time for you to find something new to do. And why can't that be the same thing for a player? I think it's also of note that it's still only Wednesday after the Super Bowl. And
that'd be the worst time to ask me if I'm going to keep doing the job.
And that's why he said, I'm going to give it some time. And I think if you're hoping Travis Kelce comes back, that's the best part of that, is that he's not making a decision inside of a week of losing in brutal fashion. And right now I'm sure his body is beat up and everything, all that. 3 weeks from now, I'm not saying he's suddenly going to feel great, but like, will you be able to make a more clear decision? And it sounds like he will, but I don't know how you don't listen to that and say, man, that sure sounds like a guy that might be done.
Admitting that in the middle of the season, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. That is tough. And look, you got to weigh it versus how did you feel the rest of the time? What percentage of your season was, I don't want to go into the facility and do this again today. I am not getting the same joy and reward out of this that I used to. Because if it's 15% of your working year, I would say that's most people in most jobs, Travis. Glad you got lucky that that's not the case for most people. But there are 15, 20, 30% of everyone's job where they're like, not today. Don't feel like it.
But I don't know, Drew and I, 100% of the time, we love it. There's 100% of the time. There's never anything. Cody, you speak for yourself, man. We 100% of the time.
Rise and grind. We are like Vinny Pasquantino.
Rise and grind?
That's right, man. Every single day.
Not me. Sometimes I don't want to grind.
Cody, in fairness.
I just want to rise. Rest.
In fairness, most people are not getting hit constantly.
The physical toll.
Every time Alex steps into the building, I just give him one clean punch to the jaw. Like, I don't want to get punched in the face today.
I think the physical toll is obviously the reason where, of course, most of us are not getting beaten and battered throughout an entire time.
I still wonder, the one thing he didn't address, I wonder how much, and maybe we overblow this from the outside, does the way the game went down and just obviously your worst performance as a team, not just individual, as a team in 5 years, how much does that just make you think, I can't go out like that. That's just, I can't do that.
Here's a good way to listen to it. Play the audio. Travis Kelce on New Heights talked about the letdown of the game and then try to make some decisions on how he feels.
This was it.
Just wasn't our day. Couldn't find a lick of momentum. I'm kicking myself for some of the tiny decisions I made on the field. I wasn't the best leader that I could be in motivating my guys and keeping my guys, calm, cool, collected. And I put a lot of that on myself as, the guy that's been in the building for 12 years and seen a lot of football and actually seeing a situation just like this in the Super Bowl. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's a hard reality, man. I love my teammates. I love my coaches, Chiefs Kingdom. I'm sorry for how it ended. I have a beautiful life, man. I have loved ones. I have the most amazing family in the world that supports me in everything that I do. And they were all there, cheering me on and hoping for the best on Sunday, man. I wish things would have went different. I wish I would have made better decisions early on and helped my guy Pat out and helped my team, find that momentum or that confidence. But, I just have to tip my hat to the Eagles.
I mean, some of the effort from the team in the third and fourth quarter was pretty bad. But, I mean, I'll just be honest. Can we just admit that we're human beings here? I wouldn't have been trying all that hard either.
There was one play in particular.
We can judge people different. It's
bringing
34-0 in the Super Bowl. I'm not getting my ass killed in this game anymore. Yeah. I don't care what game it is. I'm done. We're done here. Like, this game's over.
There's one play in particular. I think you're right, Cody, in terms of how I think everybody should feel about it. But there's one play where the Mahomes scrambled and then he fumbled briefly and got it back.
Yeah.
Where he's running for his life. And Travis Kelce turns, looks at him, throws his hands up like this, and then watches him run kind of by him. The ball fumbles, and then he moves a little bit, but he just stood there the entire time. Where I think he was just over it.
Yeah, I think frustration.
Everybody was over it, I guess.
You're getting your ass kicked in a football game, and nothing's working. And you know that the goal was about the three-peat and winning another ring, and like that you're not even as close as you weren't even close when it actually got to the moment. That's what's like. You were so close. You got closer to anybody else, but in the moment, in the game, you guys were as far. It felt like you were miles and miles away from actually getting that, and so that has to stink. So we'll see. That audio right now, I don't know how you wouldn't lean toward. I'm not saying he 100% is going to retire. That's not what. But I don't know how you wouldn't lean. If I had to give you my answer, is he retiring or not? I don't know how you could listen to that and not be like, if I had to give you an answer, yes, I think he's retiring.
I don't know how you could go lower than like 60% yes at this point. I mean, And, you know, I've always thought he was going to play out the rest of his contract. And that's if, like, today, he can sit around for 48 hours. He can go on vacation with his girlfriend, and he can have a little
go on the beach somewhere. Just relax, man. Just go relax for a couple weeks.
And get away from it. And, look, this is where it's not just – and this is not a knock, actually. I think this is part of what makes them great, part of the reason they were able to get 2-3 consecutive Super Bowls, why they have been in 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. But Andy's not the kind of coach who's even going to give you the vet treatment. You go play for Sean McVay, and you're Travis Kelce's age with his accomplishments, you don't even have to work during the week. You got to just not practice, Gold. You got to kick back, relax. You can take half a training camp off. They don't care because different organizations handle it differently. Andy, no time, no rest, no time off. Sorry. You come to training camp, you work as hard as any other person who is here. If you were healthy to play in practice, you work as hard as anyone here. And because of that, they have had the ultimate success. But what I'm saying is, like, with a different team, playing at 34 probably feels different from this is the grind and effort I'm getting ready to have to go through. But for Andy Reid, you have to give it all, every inch. And I think that again, that's what makes them successful. I'm not blaming. There's lots of coaches who vet rest days and a million other things. We know Andy doesn't do that, but it's hard to hear that and not think that retirement is quite plausible.
It's always been in play, and
is that something you guys think that Andy needs to change though? Is there and not fully flip the script where he is Sean McVay, but hey, Chris Jones needs some time off, or Travis needs some time off. Like, I'm going to give you a day.
Well, okay, a day is one. I think based on what Travis just said as well. He said, and I think this is more about him than even Andy, he doesn't want to half-ass it. It's like he's already telling you that. If he's not going to be out there with his teammates at that same level, that same effort, then he's not going to do it. Like, I think if there's any thought that he could pull for them to say, he could pull a Gronk and just show up in the middle of the season, he's not going to do that. That's what at least based on that audio. If he's going to be in it, he's in it 100%.
Yeah.
And I respect the heck out of that.
Yeah, the Ron Swanson approach. Don't half-ass whole ass. Don't half-ass 2 things. Don't half-ass 1 thing. You got to be all the way in.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that about Travis.
I don't think we're going to know for sure one way or the other till
3 weeks.
Yeah, like March 1st-ish.
That's
something like
guess.
that. And obviously the league year is right around the corner.
It's around where his brother retired. You know, we did finally get the final closing of the head coaching stuff yesterday.
Took a while, huh?
Kellen Moore got announced as the New Orleans Saints head coach. And I was really just asking myself, what is the simple question? Who's going to do the worst job and who's going to do the best job?
Wow, all right.
Worst job. Kellen Moore's got to be the front runner for that by a mile because of situation, right? Not even his own doing. I will say Brian Schottenheimer's situation ain't great.
I actually think Kellen Moore.
Jets don't have a quarterback right now?
I think Kellen Moore will win more games than people think.
Ooh, interesting take.
I think the Jets
are
in
the Boise State bias.
No, I don't think so.
Boise State bias.
I don't think so. No, I don't
there
think
might be
so.
A little bit in there.
I don't think so. I think the division sucks for starters.
I don't disagree with that.
I think. Well, Aaron Glenn, I already love what he's doing, but basically saying, I'm in charge there in New York. Stay off your damn interviews in the middle of the week, please. I'm in charge. I'm the captain now. I love that from Aaron Glenn there in New York. The Jets might be worse. you mentioned Brian Schottenheimer. They have more talent on the roster, no doubt, but I just still wonder that whole setup. Like, and with all due respect to the Schottenheimer family, like Brian Schottenheimer's just never been a head coach. Why? Like, what
feels like a losing situation.
And at this place, he's not a 35-year-old coach that's getting his first crack at this. He's been in the league for a little bit, so I'm very skeptical. It's not his fault that he got the job, but I don't know. I actually think Kellen Moore will do better than people think, even though it's a really tough job. They got to give him a couple years. I believe, like the obvious, like who has the highest ceiling? Of course, both him and the quarterback situation.
What about Liam Cohen? Since they've got Trevor Lawrence, the Golden Boy.
I think there's a chance there. Depends on how things mesh.
Trevor Lawrence. What's your opinion on Trevor Lawrence is what it comes down to. Is
I've never been high on him, so Cohen's going to be down my list.
What does success mean? Because the questions about success, Cody, I feel like there's levels to it. Is this making the playoffs, or is this...
I mean, you got to at least get to the playoffs, so you're not successful as a head coach.
In year one, or just in general,
no,
you mean, in their tenure?
Because in year one, obviously, I don't think Kellen Moore's going to the playoffs in year one. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, across 2 or 3 year period, I think he will win more games than some of the other guys we mentioned. In year one, I guess let's do that. Let's break it up. In year one, who has the best chance to make the postseason? Ben Johnson and the Bears.
Yeah, 100%.
I know it's a tough division. I will go there because the talent on offense is ridiculous.
Or Brian Schottenheimer in year one.
Just because of the talent.
And the NFC.
Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott.
Who could have the worst season in year one? Aaron Glenn or
Kellen Moore?
Kellen Moore. The Raiders don't have a quarterback yet. That's the question. If they sign Sam Darnold, there's a limit, but there's also, I think, a floor that is higher than some of these other spots. Like, Derek Carr's probably the quarterback in New Orleans. So
if that roster's also stuck. So the roster's not good.
I think if you made me rank out coach most likely to get a second deal and stay with his team, it's still Ben Johnson. And I know that that's the obvious answer.
No, I get it.
But it's partially because of the talent that Caleb Williams still does possess. If they get any semblance of an offensive line, and he is the kind of guy who got the most, I think, he got as much as Sean McVay got out of Jared Goff. He got maximum out of Jared Goff. And so just as long as he's not a bad leader of men in the head coaching spot, instead of being an offensive coordinator, that's by far the best pairing. The surprise one would probably be Liam Cohen. That's the one where you're like, offensive mind, finally get it together.
Division, young quarterback.
Brian Thomas Jr. with a healthy Trevor Lawrence. Like, there's pieces there that I could talk myself into. My biggest hurdle is that I've always thought Trevor Lawrence was overrated, and he was rated in that way because, I'm not even kidding, aesthetics. He looks like a professional quarterback. He steps back exactly the way he's supposed to step back. He throws it like a quarterback robot. He throws a pretty football. It all looks good on tape, but there's like screws loose between the heads, and he screws things up. And so, like, I've always had a hard time reconciling like that.
I do feel bad for Trevor Lawrence a little bit. Your first coach was Urban Meyer, who was kicking players and everything. Like, it was a complete disaster.
Yeah, Doug Peterson, he was a Super winner.
Aaron Glenn, I feel like, how long are these guys' contracts anyways? Like, I don't know how
depends.
long.
Some are 3, some are 5. It just depends.
I think Aaron Glenn, just to the point that you've made, Gold, he's very assertive in the way that he wants to run things.
I love it.
The roster is actually pretty good. It's just that they don't have a quarterback, and we don't know exactly what they're going to do. Obviously, they're not going to have Aaron Rodgers, it seems. Who do they go? I mean, I don't even know who the backup is there. Is it?
There is no. The backup's not starting, whoever it is.
And draft-wise, it's not a great situation either, so who knows what they do there. But I think he has the potential to maybe get another deal, just because if they make the playoffs 1 or 2 out of the 5, say it's a 5-year deal, they make the playoffs 2 out of the 5, I think he gets another deal.
How about if he just makes it once? They haven't been in the play. When's the last time the Jets were relevant in the AFC play? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he has to be in the playoffs twice.
I
if
think
Aaron Glenn gets in the playoffs in year 2 or 3, I think he gets an extension.
I just think he has a decent shot to do it. I think because the roster's so good around where if you get
the quarterback,
I know, but if they get the quarterback, which is always the big question, the roster is built very well for them already. If they get
Garrett Wilson,
I don't know if they get Jackson Dart, for example, who a lot of people think is the third best quarterback in the league, very mobile, really very good, very good college statistic numbers, throwing the football, very mobile, typical quarterback for this age. If he's even halfway decent, if he's Bo Nix, they make the playoffs with that roster.
Good social media, just through a dart, the people will be all over that nonsense.
I hear you. I hear you, Drew. The issue is that organization as a whole sucks, and we're like, well, so did a lot. Like, and I know you didn't. I'm mentioning the Lions. Sure. You didn't, but I think what's going to happen, and I told you I like the Aaron Glenn hire, but now people are going to say, Well, the Lions were bad for 30 years, so why can't the Jets be good? Like it's as if now that's just going to be something everybody can replicate. Like that's the hope. That's the dream of Jets fans. Our guy Vinny Pasquantino, I'm sure they don't have a quarterback yet. Their owner sucks. Those are two huge hurdles that Aaron Glenn's going to have to get over.
Who's the OC
there? Who did they hire?
That also is the big question.
Who did they? That's a great. Who the heck did they hire?
Because quarterback and the OC combo, of course, has got to be big because he's a DC.
It's now says offensive defensive staff. I have no idea.
So that obviously I think is the big question too. But the
senior pass game coordinator Scott Turner, who was with the Raiders last year, North Turner's son.
Well, I mean,
legacy, you know.
Yeah, the fact that he came from the Raiders, I wouldn't feel too great about that, I guess. But.
Oh yeah, what offensive coordinator was going to make that quarterback situation look good?
Yeah, right.
Again, they can't turn water into wine. Sometimes, you got into an argument with someone earlier in the text line, Colt, for the same reason. We got to take a break, but you can't just fix every player whether they're bad. If they're bad sometimes. They're just bad.
All right, up next, let's get to two players that the Chiefs are going to have to make a decision on and what Kansas State is doing over in Manhattan right now. They're the hottest basketball team in the country.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Missouri sports fans, I've got good news. Underdog is available to play in your state. Basketball season upon us. I was putting some stuff on the NBA and college hoops last night. Look, you can win money by choosing who you think is going to go higher or lower than points, assists, rebounds, double-doubles was something I was working on tonight for Wimby, right? All of those things are available over there. It's one of the leading sports apps that you can play in your state from your couch. I was able to make some live lineups last night as I was sitting at home working through these matchups. Create those selections, mix and match across sports if you want. I had a soccer and basketball working yesterday, and you can play for as little as $1. Win up to 1,000 times your money. So yeah, you could turn one into $1,000 depending on your basketball knowledge. Millions of fans have won billions over at Underdog, and the app has over 100,000 five-star reviews with millions of players. Download the Underdog app today using promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with that promo code TAPP. Claim your offer today, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly with your first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consult with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Jefferson's Wings, Burgers, Oysters, located in Lenexa and North Kansas City, proud lunch partner of Cody and Gold.
No one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, we have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about our 29-degree man-sized drafts. Our happy hour will have you coming back for more. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Having unexpected car trouble or just in a car accident? You need Jay's Southland Tow Service. They have over 20 years of experience servicing the KC Metro. They specialize in light, medium, and heavy duty, as well as commercial transport and construction equipment. Keep this number handy, 816-779-4869 or southlandtow.com. Use the tow service trusted by most local police departments, Jay's Southland Tow Service. There's nothing they can't do, so be in the know and use Jay's Southland Tow.
This Valentine's Day, fall in love with Hy-Vee. The classic dozen roses, just $19.99. Avoid the restaurant hassle and treat your Valentine to a home-cooked meal featuring bacon-wrapped filet, salad, bakery fresh baguette, twice-baked potatoes, vegetable, and dessert for just $35 a couple. Top it off with your favorite bottle of wine or spirits from Hy-Vee's wide selection. One stop makes this Valentine's Day the sweetest ever, only at Hy-Vee.
I love Hy-Vee for so many different reasons, but one of the things I love most about Hy-Vee is their customer service. everyone that works at Hy-Vee is awesome. And you know what else I love about Hy-Vee? I don't have to sacrifice quality and service to get low prices. Hy-Vee just dropped the price on thousands of items in every aisle, in every department, on items I buy every day, both in-store and online. Hy-Vee even match prices with the nation's biggest discount stores. So check out Hy-Vee today and get those low prices only at Hy-Vee.
Fellas, this is Cody, and let's talk about getting back to your best. Maybe you lack energy, muscle mass, feel moody, have low libido. All of it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and you'll find the true experts at Low T Center. But guys aren't the same, so don't settle for standard dosage TRT programs. I learned about personalized treatment at Low T Center. Get the results with a customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book an appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey, weekend warriors. How's a little trail therapy sound right now? Hop in. Let's go for a ride in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Tune out all those work emails and turn up that twin-turbo V6 engine. Instead of letting the kids play online, show them some epic inclines. Turn your 8-person family dinner into an exhilarating off-road adventure. The all-new Nissan Armada is here. Intelligent four-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data, available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line Gold Unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Here in 25 minutes, we'll be joined by Matt Verderame, staff writer, covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated. He was in New Orleans all week, Media Row, talking to other teams. I know he's going to be at the Combine in Indianapolis, getting great insight. I want to talk more bigger picture with him, not even so much the game, the result, but just what is he hearing on the Trey Smith front, perhaps some other opportunities that are out there, and does he have any insight already on the draft itself and the offensive line market in particular and how the Chiefs could go down that ride? This is Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. College football podcast, is it turning into a draft podcast? People are asking. Someone says, Drew, Jackson Dart is underrated.
I'm telling you, he is. It is not turning into a draft podcast. Okay. You can go to Character Concerns where we're banking Uno Cero.
Okay.
take care of that stuff. It is not going to.
Will you be a guest though to help them break down the college players?
Oh yeah, and we're going to do some sort of a crossover. I think where I'll have them on the 249 Miles of College Football podcast to talk about some of the guys from K-State, KU, and Missouri particularly who could be drafted in the early rounds.
Missouri offensive tackle is expected to go in the end of the first round.
I still think Luther Burden's going top 15.
Where does Devin Neal go potentially? Devin Neal and DJ Giddens as well. Could he be drafted in the top 4 rounds? Yeah, so those sort of things.
I think potentially he'll be in with me and Drew tomorrow. He'll be in Friday. Yeah, weather permitting. He'll be in Friday for both of us. So you guys will get some, I'm sure, draft insight.
I'm sure we'll have
we'll
have something there.
Yeah, I'm sure. We'll talk a little college basketball coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, or coming up in about 8 minutes or so. I'm sorry. But Trey Smith and Nick Bolton, I mentioned that with Matt Verderame. Who's more likely to stay? Like, I understand we might all think they're both gone. That's fine. But who do you think is more likely? Trey Smith is going to get the biggest guard contract in NFL history. Keep that in mind. You heard Nate Taylor yesterday say he wants to come back. But man,
he wants to be in Kansas City.
As I joke with him, like there's no such thing as like a $9 million a year hometown discount or a $7 million gap difference on it.
Sure.
Doesn't exist.
I've never seen it.
No, hometown discounts are usually we'll structure it a certain way. We'll take a little bit, not
$2-3 million even, maybe.
You're not taking $7 million difference. So I think Trey Smith is less likely, honestly, than Nick Bolton because of the sheer financials. This is not who's a better player, who's not a better player. I'm talking from a financial end. I think it's still more likely, well, it's unlikely, that Nick Bolton comes back. A lot of my thinking is Spags absolutely raves about him all the time, how much he trusts him, all of that. Linebackers wouldn't be quite as expensive. That's why I think it would be more likely. But my gut tells me they're both gone. And it's because I don't know if this organization wants to pay a linebacker what for that position will be considered top-tier money. It won't be anywhere near what Trey Smith gets, but it could be, $13 million a year, $15 million a year on the highest side for Nick Bolton?
I actually think it's more likely that Trey Smith comes back. And I understand the importance that he has to the offense. And look, they haven't started sending out the possible cap possibility. Sports Illustrated had their projections in November and thought maybe a 3 for 41, similar to that as Patrick Queen's deal, which feels like a lot for a linebacker. Part of the reason I understand what you're saying it's more likely is he is way more likely to get a shorter term, 3-4 year, that's really a 2-3 year deal that the Chiefs can kind of stomach, even if it is for way more money. You have to rebuild the offensive line. Do you want to rebuild the whole damn thing? No offense. In a year, maybe 2, you're going to have to find, maybe 2 years, you're going to have to find a new left guard. In a year or 2, you're going to have to find a new right tackle. You were actively in the business of having to find a new left tackle and maybe a new right guard. I think that the math still makes sense. Keep Creed at center, you've paid him. Pay Trey Smith at right guard, and then write out your time on Joe Thuney so that the money on Trey doesn't kick in till Thuney's off your books. Then Kingsley is the guard that comes in place of that. And yeah, I get it. That means you're putting him on ice for a couple of years, which does, I admit, slows the process down a little bit and makes it less likely. I'm not trying to pretend like that's the case. And then all you're trying to solve for 1 year is left tackle, and it buys you a year or 2 to try to solve right tackle. It just makes the rebuild easier, in my opinion, on the line, where I understand you got to do things different there, but I think there's a way to still make the math work.
He's a great player, a stud at guard, and also if you're just talking about someone to have in your organization, he's probably about as good of a gets when it comes to just being a person.
I want him here selfishly,
and it's tough.
I want that with Bolton
But
too.
the projections are out. Doesn't mean they're right, but 5 years, $105 million. That's what you're talking about. And at guard, when you do have all these other holes, I don't know if you're going to have Jawan Taylor making what he's making and Trace. And I understand you can move the money around, but Jawan Taylor is making and Trey Smith and then go either sign a free agent tackle or trade for one. Unless you're confident that the only way I could see it playing, if they're very confident that they have the assets and there's a guy that they think they can trade up 15-plus spots in the draft to go get and have a left tackle on a rookie deal, and they say, okay, well, our left tackle's on a rookie deal. Joe Tooney number will lower by extending him. We'll backload the Trey Smith deal, and then Juwan Taylor's contract in 2 years will be a year and a half will be out of it. That would be the scenario. But to me, the only way that you can pay Trey Smith is if you know somehow that you got the tackle in the draft that you love, and we are moving heaven and earth to go get him.
I will say the biggest issue with my argument that I say, maybe Trey Smith's most likely, even though you and I might both say they're both gone, hypothetically, is there is not a logical in-house, as you mentioned, at guard, in-house replacement for Bolton. Obviously, Tranquil can play, and so can Chanel, and those guys can play more. They don't play the same position as Bolton. So if you are walking on Bolton, you are either signing a free agent,
probably draft one, honestly,
linebacker, or yes, probably more to your point, spending a second, third-round pick on his replacement, and then hoping he can pick up Spags' defense halfway through the season. They started Nick Bolton as a rookie. And at linebacker, that's way more common. It's like starting a running back, a rookie, or any of these other things. But you got to have a certain level of intelligence and all the other stuff that kind of comes with it in order to make it work. And so that's the toughest part. I can just tell you, like, if they don't sign Trey, who's going to play guard? Kingsley is.
Yeah.
Like, that's an easy, I solved it. It's
and
not.
they still might draft one in the fourth round or something. Who knows, right?
They might still look for competition, and it might not work for Kingsley at guard. It's not currently working for him at tackle, but it's like, you can still figure it out.
I'll say this, though. If
I just don't want to rebuild the whole offensive line.
If Kelce retires, I would say the likelihood of Trey Smith signing goes up a slight bit just because of $19 million not on the books. I think that is why you do need the decision from Travis in the next 3-4 weeks, unless they feel like they can push that down the road a little bit more.
It feels like the left tackle and Travis Kelce decision are the biggest things, because what you guys are talking about is getting, if you draft a linebacker second or third round, well, what if you use one? If you feel great about a left tackle and you want to go draft, you might have to use one of those picks that you would have used on a linebacker to go and get the left tackle. So what do you do there? I think that's part of your decision making in terms of how you go about the linebacker position depends on what your thought process is, whether it's paying a guy in free agency or whether it's drafting that left tackle.
This is part of the problem, is that I view linebacker as the running back of the defense. A good linebacker draft pick is a guy you take in the second or third round. You get 4 full years out of them as a starter. And unless they're an all-pro, unless they're this generation's Luke Kuechly, unless they're this generation like on the running back, Derrick Henry, you move on. You let them go and you find a different one. Linebackers should be treated like a turn and burn position at the middle linebacker spot, not pass rushing linebacker, not guys like Micah Parsons who play with their hands down in a 3-4 or anything else in between. I'm talking about just tackling middle linebackers. That's the running back of the defense, man. You get your good years out of it, you feel fine about it, and then you replace them with the younger
Sure,
model.
but does that mean that you pass on drafting one because you have to use that pick to go and get a left tackle?
So that's a huge part of it, exactly. And I don't disagree with your philosophy, Cody, on like, hey, you got what you got out of them and kind of move on. I get where you're thinking. I think you have to admit, though, as you said, you value linebacker clearly way differently than they do. Because
correct.
If we were to hit the rewind button to when was Nick Bolton drafted? 21?
Whatever. Yeah. The same year as Creed, the year before the 2021 draft.
I remember we were sitting across from each other, and we had a little back and forth and disagreement on the pick in general. You didn't like that, not that they drafted Nick Bolton. You didn't like they drafted a linebacker and Willie Gay as well, Bolton and Gay, in that spot, that high of a pick.
2 years in a row.
So
I didn't like that.
And that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I guess that's where I would say now, though, if you're saying it's time to move on, well, then are you going to be mad if they spin a linebacker pick in the second or third round? Because they might have to do that.
Third's a little different than second for me.
All
and
right.
it was that they had to do it in back-to-back years, and they were coming off a bad contract to Hitchens, certainly.
Yeah. I would say, but you would admit both those picks ended up being really, really good for this organization.
They're essentially like, was Willie Gay a star here? No. Did they win some Super Bowls because he was a perfectly fine NFL player that they could eventually walk away from him? Yes. Mm-hmm. Is Bolton a better linebacker than Willie Gay? Yes. But is he better enough to justify a contract? My argument would be no. Look, and we do this with corner. Because, Dusty was coming out to the bullpen earlier, and he was saying, are you sure they're going to pay Trent McDuffie because they didn't pay Ward and they didn't pay Snead? And you and I had the same reaction. There's a quality difference here.
McDuffie's better than Ward or Snead were.
Yeah, there's a quality difference. There's a gap in talent and in play that justifies the end, in my opinion. The difference between Gay and Bolton is there is a gap, but I don't think it's as big of a gap as the one we're just talking about here with Corner. And so, like, you got to kind of make those decisions. Look, money is always dependent. There's a number in which I'm okay with a re-sign of Nick Bolton. There's a number in which I'm okay with a re-sign of Trey Smith. There's numbers in which I'm not. And so, like, I understand that, like, there's a financial break point. But, yeah, for the most part, if you told me Nick Bolton's gone, but they spend a third-round pick replacing him with linebacker, yeah, that sounds fine. Because then they'll use his money on somebody else.
I think for Bolton, it sounds like financially it's the gap that exists between maybe the Chiefs and his side. It's $12 million versus 15 versus 16. And like, where's everybody at on that? I can't remember what publication it was. I remember in August, guys, we were quoting an article, an interview he did, and it wasn't the 33rd team. I don't think. We'd have to go back and look. Anyway, he did an interview. It was a print interview, and he was quoted as saying something along the lines of like, yeah, I'm not worried about the contract, but it wasn't the same of like a normal player where you're like, oh, my team's handling that. We'll work that out in the offseason. It was basically an acknowledgement that like the contract's not happening. I got to find you know what I'm talking about. I got to find the
it was
exact
like,
quote.
We're not close. Talk to you later.
And I remember we said that day, we're like, oh, that sounds like a guy that knows he's not coming back.
He basically said, we'll take care of it when the season's done, along those lines, yeah.
That might be. And again, if you made me guess on both, I think they're both less than 50% chance. And Travis Kelce's decision probably impacts both in a lot of ways because of the finances of it.
Here it is. So this was from June. Actually, I think it was our guy, Josh Brisco, that wrote it.
Nice.
I don't know if he either wrote it or he at least summarized it. Either way, it's the article I'm reading is from Brisco. It says the contract headline. The headline was Nick Bolton on contract situation. Don't want to talk extension. Not looking to sign before the 2024 season. And I'll say this: unless your linebacker's not usually banking on themselves, as if the Draft Network. Thank you, Draft Network. Bolton discussed his contract mindset when asked if he is hoping. Asked Bolton if he is hoping to negotiate an extension before the season. Honestly, no. I don't want to talk extension before training camp.
You only say that if they're not offering
one goal in mind right now. That's being the first team ever to three-peat. That's our mindset. I'll let my contract handle itself after our season. I want to just go out there and play the best football I can play. I'm hoping at the end of the year we can say we're the first team to ever win 3 in a row. But remember, like the phrasing of not wanting to talk about an extension before training camp is not a normal thing. You could we've heard players say, "Oh, I'm gonna play this." It's one thing to say I'm gonna play the season and not worry about it, but way before training camp starts, if the Chiefs wanted to sign you to an extension, you're not saying no.
Correct. If the money's right, you're not saying no. They would have signed you to an extension below market value, you might. But if they were offering you the money you thought you deserved, you're not just being like, no, I hope
they offered something.
I hope we don't talk about my contract. Could you imagine if I said that about my same job, Gold? Be like, hey, Cody, are you hoping that Odyssey offers you a new contract to remain the midday host? No! I hope they never call. Like, that doesn't make any sense, again, unless they're not offering an amount that
Do we know
makes
they
sense.
even offered him anything, though? Because they knew that
I'm sure they kick some numbers around. I'd be surprised they didn't kick some numbers around.
Random question.
For you, Gold, for you, Drew, text line 913-586-7965. As you guys know, we live stream the show, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. We'll all be over there as well. Please like, subscribe, comment. We'll chat with you over there. I try to stay up to date on the Twitch and the YouTube chats. Question I have today comes via a social media complaint. As you know, Gold, I've been waiting on my car for a billion years. I may never get it back. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
I think I will get it back. They actually told me they're reassembling it. They did not give an estimate for how long it takes to reassemble it. Like if this is like a long Lego, a long Lego-like project, and it's going to take a week to put it together, or if they're going to have this bad boy dusted off this afternoon. That is unclear. But the question I have for you is something you and I have talked about, the difference between a utopian world and the way the world exists, and whether or not you're okay with this being the way the world might exist. Because you and I got into a big thing with listeners yesterday where I told them, and so did you, that what the Cleveland Guardians are offering from a streaming platform is exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And we had to go back and forth in all of this. And then what I saw here was like where you and I get into these debates a little bit where, hey, this is the life. So Jeep owners are complaining.
All right.
Because what has taken place in newer model Jeep cars is they're getting a pop-up ad when they stop. So when they come to a stop, it's saying, hey, purchase peace of mind. Sign up for this Jeep Care program. You can't turn it off unless you purchase it. Pops up every time you come to a full stop. So the question I have for you today is, are you going to be accepting of the eventual pop-up ads that are going to exist in your car, or do you think this is something we should fight?
Wait, it just pops up on their dash?
Uh-huh. Pops up on the in-dash thing. Pops up on the in-dash thing. Says, Mopar Vehicle Protection Maximum Care Plans are factory backed and offer you peace of mind.
Do people realize
in
that
case of
you're supposed to
mechanical
be-
breakdown, you cannot turn it off. It is not an option to turn it off. It pops up when you come to a stop while you're driving in traffic.
Don't people realize that you're supposed to be paying attention, and all those other things, and not looking at the dash?
So I guess that's the question.
Here we go.
If you came to a stoplight and it said, "Come buy a KFC 6-pack," you got a problem, or are you cool with this?
No.
I'll answer the question. In reference to the Jeep thing, I just looked it up. They have acknowledged it's a software glitch. And just like it happened in 2015, something similar happened. There was also a patch in 2018. They said this is
they tried to do intentionally.
temporary software glitch affected the ability to instantly opt out in a few isolated cases, though instant opt-out is the standard for all our in-vehicle messages. Our team had already identified and corrected the error. So that's in addition to the Jeep thing. It's being corrected.
Still,
as far
that's
as your
crazy.
question of pop-up ads in cars, look, if they would pay you a certain price, let's say it's just a company, like your car, for whatever reason, you allow them, you either have to pay a
You're
monthly
saying you
fee.
want to be paid for it.
Yeah, but that's not, that's probably not what will happen.
Because right now, new cars are already this way. So, I currently have, the ability to get on an app for my car and remote start it or any of these other things. But I have to pay for that app after, 2 years or 3 years of having it. For any, the dealership that I bought it from, Volkswagen Lee Summit, they obviously cover a couple of years there, which is nice. But 4 years from now, if I want to be able to remote start my car from my phone, not my keys, I'll have to pay for the app.
Yeah.
If you're putting
That
if you're
also is
putting
very
ads in my
stupid.
car, I'm with you. It better come in a reduction of the cost of the car, or I better be getting paid per view or something. This
that's
is nuts.
different. That's different than hey, there's a glitch where it's reminding you to get your oil changed, and the warning won't go away because there's
This
a
is
glitch.
saying buy an extended warranty.
Yeah. But it sounds
that's
like
an
it's
ad.
a glitch. But it sounds like it actually is a glitch.
Look,
They want to sell to you once. Maybe it's a glitch that you can't make it go away, but
That's what they're saying. Yeah, they're saying they're not denying that it pops up. They're saying you should be able to easily opt out, and there's a software glitch that's not letting you opt out.
I know that we have to pay more for content and all these other things and all this other stuff. You've invested. You're investing, Cody.
I bought this thing.
You're investing. I don't know how much a Tiguan is, but let's say $30,000. You're investing $30,000 in this vehicle.
More than that.
You should have the app for free. You should get the app for free for the life that you have the car. There should be no subscription service after
a service. It's not the vehicle.
Mercedes was doing it where you had to pay for
BS.
the heated seats are installed in your car, but you can't turn them on unless you pay the monthly subscription.
That is BS to me.
I agree with you.
That
If
is so BS.
You're locking out heated seats because I don't pay them.
That is total
pay
All right, so
crap.
we did talk about this thing before, and I swear I'm not just defending every auto manufacturer. All I'm
Gold's big business. Listen to this guy.
All I'm
back
saying,
in the company.
All I'm saying is, go back even 10 years ago. Let's say let's just stick with the Jeep theme or whatever. Depending on the trim level of the vehicle you buy, there's an increase in cost. And if you go to the higher trim, it might have, back in the day, heated seats. Now it's more and more standard, but you get the point. It would have had heated seats or it had blind spot. You paid extra for that based on the trim level, correct? Right? We all agree?
But
Yes.
it's not a subscription service.
I agree. I'm not arguing that part.
So that existed.
I'll continue to listen.
So now in a lot of electric vehicles, I'll use the Tesla for an example or whatever. If you want to have a certain thing unlocked, you pay extra for that. Like the vehicle's capable of it, but you pay extra. How is that any different than paying an extra $8,000 when you buy the car for a higher trim level? How's it any different?
My argument is that I should be willing to pay for the heated seats then. You should not be allowed to charge me for my heated seats once a month in perpetuity forever.
Years after you bought the
That
car.
is my
100%.
offense. If I'd say, let's just say
How much
it's a
they
part of the
charge you?
loan.
How much do they charge
Once
you?
the car is paid off, you can't be charging me anymore for my heated seats.
Yeah,
Do we know if
physically own
do we
this
know
car.
if that's the case? If you buy the car outright, do we know if you're not financing it? I don't know
think
the
it's just
answer.
all part of their system. It's part of the app maintenance or anything else. I'm sure is Volkswagen.
If you bought the car outright, if anything, you're saving. You spend less money, but I feel like they would still make you do the subscription service. If you buy it outright, you don't have interest.
Yeah,
You just
people are
pay
bringing
it.
up like
Just buy
OnStar
it.
and stuff. That's a separate service. I get why they charge you for that monthly. That is a separate company that is operating that.
I agree. That is a different service. Someone's just just trade that car in the day that thing runs out. I'm not a big. Alex and I are both, and I can't speak for Drew because I've only seen him with the one car. I'm typically a ride it into the ground type. The last car had 240 when I traded in. Yours was pretty close to that. So
Yeah, we're at 220 something.
So-
This is also the only car I've had, Cody.
That's impressive.
So I don't know if I'm someone that's just in this circumstance. This is what I bought the car.
But I
in
mean, if you do that
2013.
once, I don't think you're like getting the next car and you're like, I'm going to trade it in after 3 years.
I don't know.
I think if you ride one out for 12 years, you're not going to be a trade-in type, maybe a lease type.
This depends.
Somebody from the 913 says they work at BMW and microtransactions are now rampant in cars for heated seats and other things.
Nuts.
They said, hold on. They said their car comes with navigation, but you have to spend $200 a year to be able to use it with other features. That is crap. They're just robbing you of $200.
Like I actually would rather pay it up front.
Yeah,
let's just
again,
say the life of the loan is
I'll
$500. They say it's $1,000 more for the car, and I get navigation forever. Fine,
agreed.
But like, don't be
100%.
charging me $200 for the rest of my life for it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's dumb.
I get it. I guess I still think if you're looking at, let's say, like EX versus LX, and the LX is $7,500 more, and you're charging me $200 a year, how many years is it taking to get to 7,000? Okay, we can do some simple math. It's not as crazy as you guys think.
Yeah, but if you have to do the 200 or the 7,500 plus the 200 on top of it.
No, my point is you're not doing the 7,500 on top of it anymore. They're not like that. There isn't the different trim level for in this example.
I still don't need the extra 200. I don't need the extra 200 a month. It should just come with the car. If you're financing the car or buying the car, you should get it.
Man, well,
if you lease it, maybe you.
I mean, the other part is
the charge if you're leasing
if we're really just like making this simpler than what reality is, then there's also the simple solution, which is if that's the car that's microtransaction, how about you don't buy that car, you go buy a different car if it's that big of an issue for you. You buy the 100,000 Mercedes, I don't think you're bitching about $25 a month. Just saying.
Probably not. But I'm saying like microtransactions are coming for us all.
I hear you.
You're going to be driving in your new car 2 years from now. You're going to go pick up your new car.
Go down to Max Motors. That's right.
And you're going to be driving down the road and you're going to get to a stoplight. It's going to be like, hey, 2-for-1 chalupas at Taco Bell around the corner. You want one? And you're like, what the hell is this?
Yes, please. By the way, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Or all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, you stop it. It's freezing cold outside. You want the heated seats and they're not working. Like, what the heck's not going? They said, by the way, it's $20.99 a month. Come on now.
I paid for the in-car internet when we were getting ready to hit like a super long road trip.
Right after the road trip?
Yeah, but I paid for a month when we were
That makes sense. You could also do that with the other. Don't pay for the heated seats in summertime. Cancel that monthly in August. Fire it back up in December.
Yeah, well, for sure. I would wait.
All right, up next, Matt we're late again. We did this again.
Damn it.
Not a good day for that. You know what? It's a snow day for a lot of people, so I'll take it. Up next, Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, is going to join us. We'll get his perspective on the Chiefs' cap situations.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
At Jefferson's, our favorite day is game day, especially on Kansas City game day. We know our guys in red like to play down to the wire, and we're here for every second of it. Our ice-cold beers pair perfectly with a blocked field goal. Our double-dip wings taste even crispier when KC makes yet another game-changing play. It just tastes better when you're watching at a bar that's owned and operated locally. Join us on game day and every day at Jefferson's, 87th Street in Lackman in Lenexa and North Kansas City on Armour Road. Jefferson's, wings, burgers, oysters.
98 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of Kansas City has been repairing and replacing garage doors. Locally owned and operated since 1927, headquartered in Olathe. Always look for the iconic red ribbon of the genuine, the original Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. For same-day repair service 24/7, call Overhead Door Company of Kansas City, 816-221-0072, or schedule online at ohdkc.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And though I generally talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues, today I want to talk about love. Because love is the best reason to get treated for your ED. You see, ED can cause major relationship issues. In fact, men often push their partners away when ED becomes a problem. The condition can cause depression, arguments, breakups, and even contribute to divorce. But the good news is that if you're like most men suffering with ED, ED, you can be successfully treated at Heartland Men's Health and put a stop to the relationship stresses that ED can cause. I say this with all confidence because we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. Surely, it's likely you'll find you're performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and get the love back in your life. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
March is almost here, and college basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets, and even who's cutting down the nets. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex and get in on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
Wake up with Fesco and Dusty. Weekdays starting at 6 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get to how the Jets are handling things. What it means for the future of one quarter. No, actually, I like what Aaron Glenn is doing.
I apologize.
He's
I was
taking
just making
control.
a broad assumption about the Jets.
He's taking charge. I like it. I have no idea who the hell his quarterback's going to be, but I like what he's done so far with handling his staff and apparently the demands he put out there if somebody wanted to still be his quarterback. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Someone that gives a great national perspective on the NFL is our buddy Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated. He was in New Orleans throughout the week. He was there for Super Bowl 59. Matt, appreciate it, man. I know you had a busy week. I don't even really want to ask you too much about the game itself. Now we are on Wednesday, but just bigger picture, what do you think the result of Sunday's game does? Is it just the simple, hey, this is the big pivot again for the Chiefs like the Bucs where they're just going to go all in on O-line again? Or do you think there's a different path forward for them?
So, look, going into the game, if you told me that I would be sitting here, 100 hours later thinking that they were going to be really aggressive this offseason, I would have said, I think you're nuts. I think that game was so embarrassing. It's going to force them to do something. Like, I actually think if you're a Chiefs fan, them losing that way was better than them losing 27-24. Because that's easy to just go, well, play here or there. That game was such a disgrace that I think it is going to make Brett Veach sit there and go, look, we got to fix left tackle, period. And not like Suamatea and Morris and DJ Humphries having a three-way battle royale at St. Joe's. Like, draft a guy in the first round or spend real money this offseason on Cam Robinson or a Lark Jackson, like somebody like that. I also think in a weird way, as bad as your O-line was, I think it almost makes you feel like you need to keep Trey Smith. You're going to open up another hole in that offensive line. You're going to let that guy walk, and as I've had a lot of fans tell me, well, we'll just put Silmati and it's guard. You're going to that's the answer. Like, what if that's a disaster? So I think they've got to fix the O-line. I think Smith is the top priority, and then you got to figure out left tackle. And then the other overarching theme I thought coming out of that game was they have got to get faster on offense. Yeah. Worthy obviously is very fast. That's great. Rice is going to be a terrific player, and he serves his purpose in the slot. They need speed on that offense. And in the backfield, they need it on the other side at receiver across from Worthy. Like they were painfully slow, and the Eagles exposed it.
I know that you can find like fast wide receivers. Those come quite often in the NFL draft now. And Rice and Worthy are enough to kind of go with it. Running back, yep. I mean, I don't know how far you've looked in the draft yet. I know you'll be in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks. By all accounts, it's a really good draft for that, right? They shouldn't have any trouble finding a speedy back in this draft.
No, God, no. You know, this draft's kind of weird in the sense, like, if you talk to some people in the league, they think it's a pretty deep draft, and other people will tell you they don't think it's a great draft. So it's kind of a varying difference of opinion on it. But one thing everybody agrees on is it's a great running back class. Like, there are some people in Mobile that would flat out tell you they thought this is almost like two draft class in one, basically, for running backs. So, no, they're going to have their pick. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, and of course, if they could move up, move down, whatever, but like as things sit, they have 4 picks in the top 100. If I'm Kansas City, pie in the sky, I'm sitting there going, all right, with those 4 picks, I'm taking an edge rusher, I'm taking a running back, I'm taking a left tackle, and I'm taking a corner. Like, that's my mentality. Now, look, you want to argue, say, hey, well, maybe you take a receiver. It depends obviously how the board falls. But, yeah, they've got to get more explosive in the backfield. They desperately need to add somebody out of the backfield who threatens the defense. And then, obviously, look, Worthy and Rice. The good news, that's a great combination. It's a combination. They fit well together. They're both really good. They're both really young. They're cheap. And to that point, I do wonder, and this is completely just my own 2 cents in speculation, like, if you're the Chiefs, especially if you're going to draft a tackle, do you maybe open up some cap space and go for a big-name receiver this offseason? Is that something you maybe consider because you're not paying anybody else at receiver?
I think that's an easier decision to make, Matt, if Travis Kelce decides to retire. Because then it frees up the $17 million next year in order to kind of do however it is you want to do that. And to your point, yeah, super cheap at wide receiver over the next couple of years. But I think that's probably Travis Kelce dependent. And look, if you listen to the New Heights thing like I did today, that doesn't sound like a guy who's going to play football next year. But I also think 3 days after the Super Bowl is going to be a tough time to evaluate whether or not how someone's feeling about it.
Well, so here's my thing with the Chiefs. Right, because I've already had a lot of people say in the last few days when I've gone on radio hits and stuff like that, well, they don't have any cap space. Well, sure, right now they don't. They could open up $50 million at the blink of an eye if they want to do it. I mean, they first of all, they have the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card at their cap space with Mahomes' contract. Okay, they could restructure him and save $38 million this offseason if they want to do it. Now, they don't have to do that. They don't have to do all of it. They can do some of it, but they have that option. Tooney is due $26.9 million against the cap this year. That is, to me, the easiest extension in the world. Just extend them for 2 years and lower the cap hit by $15 million. Because to me, the Trey Smith thing is a misnomer in the sense, a lot of people, they can't afford him. Sure they can. If they extend Tooney and lower that hit, Trey Smith, like, let's say he gets a 5-year, $100 million deal. Let's say he gets Robert Hunt's contract. Robert Hunt, this year, his cap hit was $6 million. Like, they can absolutely afford Trey Smith. And then by the time it gets expensive next year, Juwan Taylor's gone. And by cutting Juwan Taylor next year, they save $20 million. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'm going into this offseason with the mentality of, look, defensively, adjustment here, adjustment there, but we're fine. Offensively, it's got to be the focus. You sign Smith, you figure out left tackle. That's the big overarching question. And then, look, I mean, the receivers, there are a lot of guys out there. Like, would the Chiefs shock the world and pay T. Higgins? Like, I don't know. I mean, but they need somebody along with Worthy and Rice, who you're like, all right, that guy's a real threat. And they got to get back to throwing the ball down the field and not having the lowest ADOT in the league like they did this year.
We're talking to Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated here, getting his perspective on an early look on what the offseason could be. We played the audio earlier today. I'm sure you've heard it from New Heights, Travis Kelce talking about potential retirement, and it was about as honest as you'll ever hear a player. I know it's a few days after the Super Bowl, but listen to that. If I didn't tell you any other information about the money or anything, that sounds like a guy that's retiring, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I also subscribe to, like, it's a half week out of the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And listen, I was at that game. Obviously, I was up in the press box. He looked. I mean, I kind of hesitate to say this because he's an all-time great player. He was brutal. I mean, he couldn't move. And I don't know whether – I always hesitate because you don't know what guys – are they hurt? You know, is there something going on? But, like, there were a lot of plays, and now they've been parsed out to death on Twitter, for better or worse. But, like, he didn't even touch guys trying to block him. I mean, is that, like – I know it's not an effort thing with Travis Kelce. Is he hurt? Is he just physically to the point he just cannot play the position anymore? Like, I don't know. But that's another – listen, that's a tough conversation if you're the Chiefs internally you're having to right now. Let's be honest. Call it what it is. Like, he's due almost $20 million against the cap this year. If they cut him, they save over $17 million. Now, I can't imagine a world they're cutting Travis Kelce. But is there a world where they call him in and say, look, man, like, we're gonna split the year up and give you a void year on the back end, but like we're saving $9 million this year, and if you come back, you're a third or fourth option? Because that to me, and we don't have enough time in the world to do this right now, but like that's the story of this offseason. This offense can no longer go through Travis Kelce. It's got to go through Worthy and Rice. And that's where they are going to have a sea change with the way they play.
In fairness, I thought they had already made that change at the beginning of this season with Rashee Rice.
He got hurt.
And then he got hurt. It seemed like it was going through Rashee Rice. And then he got hurt. And then their plans in that regard kind of changed. Do you think, like, so when comes to the offense, this is kind of a minor thing. I'm not crazy. I don't come in here and be like, fire them all. Heck can't coach offensive line players, and Matt Nagy has nothing to do with the offense, because they were in 3 straight Super Bowls and won 2 but fell short in the 3rd. But I do think they could use a fresh voice inside the offense, as in somebody outside their own circle of trust with a different idea of looking at it. And largely for me, it's because of the deep passing game and the inability to work it off of the running game and the things you said, the average depth of target. Could they use a fresh mind inside there, not to stir everything up, but just to look at it differently?
Oh, I absolutely think they should do that. I don't think they will, because it's on the way Andy operates. Like, Matt Nagy's probably got a job there for 30 years if he wants one. I think they do need one. Look, the way they played offense last year, they had no choice. They couldn't function. They had no receivers. It was ridiculous. Like, how that team won a Super Bowl, that'll be studied by future civilization. This year, it was maddening to watch them not try to stretch the field with Worthy at times, where it was like they gave up halfway through the year. And then, ironically, when they were down 1,000,000 points in the Super Bowl, Mahomes throws the best pass of the entire season and hits him in the hand 70 yards downfield. Like, they need to stop allowing teams to dictate how they play. You know, you watch the Bengals. The Bengals can't block anybody. Burrow's back there's well on the ball. I get it. He's got Higgins and Chase. I understand that. But if Rice comes back this year healthy, you have 2 really good young receivers. You need to throw the ball down the field. You need to be aggressive in the way you play. You need to put teams on their heels. And that is something that the last couple of years, sometimes because they literally just couldn't do it, and sometimes by their own choice, they didn't. And that's why I do wonder this year, like, would they spend big-time money on another receiver and just go into the offseason and be like, look, we're coming out of this thing where we are obscenely explosive, and there's nobody who's stopping this team. It's I wonder if that's kind of the lesson to come out of this, is we're not going to let Mahomes just be neutered year in and year out if one guy gets hurt.
Lastly for you, Matt, we talked about potentially extensions for guys like Trey Smith and others. What about Trent McDuffie? Is he kind of the most obvious guy that's going to get taken care of this offseason?
He should. Obviously, he's extension eligible. He's got 2 years left, including the 5th-year option, which, of course, they'll pick up. They'll pick up Carl Loftus's. Look, McDuffie's going to, be an incredibly expensive guy to pay. But, if you extend him now, you are going to get probably the best deal you're going to get, and that money's not kicking in for years. So that's fine, right? Like, look, I think they're going to extend McDuffie at some point, whether it's this year or next year. I mean, they're going to extend him. Karlaftis, I think they will extend. Obviously, he's not going to be as expensive as McDuffie. Whether that's this year or next year, who knows? My guess is he'll probably wait. But the real questions for me are, okay, are you going to keep Trey Smith? I think you have to. I think you're compelled to, but we'll see what they do. And then defensively, Nick Bolton, Deshaun Wharton, Justin Reed, Charles Omenihu. You're not keeping them all. How many are you keeping? You keeping one? You keeping two? I mean, Bolton to me is the biggest, like, I could see him getting 3 and 39, and I could see some team giving him 4 and 70. Like, I just think it depends. It depends. His market to me is fascinating. And I think it depends a lot on whether or not he comes back is what that market looks like.
Matt Verderame, staff writer for Sports Illustrated. Great work throughout the season, man. We really appreciate you hopping on, and I'm sure once we get in the heart of the league year and stuff, we'll check back in.
Anytime, guys. Take care.
There you go. Matt Verderame.
Years in a month.
I know it. It's crazy. The Nick Bolton thing kind of goes back to how we were discussing it. It's like, it depends. Are we talking 12 million a year? Or he said, like, what was that? 17 million a year. You know, like, it's a huge range. And if it's on the higher end,
16, 17? Even a bad team?
You know how this plays out. Somebody,
take care of your business, you know? Like, take care of yourself, take care of your family. Your earning window is small. All of the things. I get it. I really do get it.
Yeah. Hard to fault anybody for we're talking $5 million a year differences.
I'd leave the show for $5 million additional dollars a year.
Would you? Would you do
I'd
that?
be gone. You'd never see me again.
$5 million? Yes.
$5 million? Dude, I'd be.
Let's be real. That number's even a lot low. That number's a lot lower than that.
I'd be over on some other podcast network. It wouldn't even matter the name. It'd be the Tennessee Titans equivalent of platform.
You're gonna do Locked On for the Titans?
Nah, worse. Well, Locked On's worse. Like I wouldn't. Like it's got to be even below that if we're talking about like organizationally. It's got to be like some platform I've never even heard of, like the I-70 podcast series, and I don't even know if that exists.
Wow.
Oh no, is that a thing?
I'm sure it is.
Well, I didn't know.
No, you got invited on this guy's podcast. That was
not that guy.
That's his name.
Oh, I thought it was a different one.
It's called like the I-70
not that
podcast
guy.
or something.
Well, you know what I mean. Just like whatever.
Just throwing shots at nice people out there, you know.
Hold on, I was thinking that was a made up one. I should have gone with the I-635 podcast.
That would be made up.
Okay, we only cover the loop on the Kansas side.
That's right.
I think Matt.
You
the
get
K10 podcast.
The K10 podcast.
Oh my goodness.
I'd be over there for $5 million.
Who in the world would you cover on the K10 podcast?
Just things that happen.
That's Eudora. That's Lawrence.
Yeah, Eudora High School. Anything on the K10.
High school football.
Dude, anything on the K10 corridor for $5 million.
That's right.
You have to be within 5 minutes of K10.
That's right. You can cover Olathe a little bit there too. You got it all.
I get a little bit close. I get to that like Lenexa area.
That's right. Yeah, just barely Lenexa. Yep.
I thought Matt brought
right
up
on the edge.
It's not even funny. It's just the point of just unleashing Xavier Worthy.
Sure.
Where Cody, I'm watching the game at that point, and yes, we all know the game's over, but they decided to finally just say, you know what, we're just going to throw the ball deep and let Xavier try to do his thing. And it's like, how many times could they have just done this?
There was one earlier in the game when he held that.
I know. He has the speed. At what point did they really decide, you know what, this is just how we're going to run our offense, and it's just the way that it's going to be? We talked about it all season long. Why do they keep on skirting by these games? Because Andy gets comfortable.
Yeah, you don't have to. And I don't blame them for the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality, right?
They won 15 games, so I'll remind everybody.
There is a part of that like it does fundamentally make sense. But yeah, to your point, had they won 11 and were clawing and scratching and fighting, would they have tried some other things? Yeah, probably. They probably would have. But what they were doing got them all the way to the Super Bowl. I get the
It also
comfort.
got him killed, though, in the same
I know,
breath.
but
they didn't killed.
But there's no way they could have thought that was going to happen. They were back-to-back Super Bowl champions, running 4-yard routes for 2 consecutive years.
Yeah.
And it got them a Super Bowl championship. It got them all the way back to the Super Bowl. I got to be honest, it's borderline impossible to think after that amount of success consecutively, 2 consecutive years winning the Super Bowl and a 3rd straight year being in there. There is no way you thought there was any chance, if you were organizationally, that plan was getting your ass kicked. So, yeah, when you got nothing to lose and you just start rocket firing 70-yard passes down the field to Xavier Worthy, it's like, damn, where was that all year? There was no reason to get into that because everything you were doing was working.
it, though.
Yeah, for sure.
We the fans were.
I mean, everybody loves the exciting 50-yard touchdown or whatever. But this goes back to pick any team. Like, were there teams this year that had more explosive offenses? Of course, there were like 9 of them. Were there teams that had wide receivers that had more touchdowns over 40 yards? Yes, there was probably half the league that might have had that. But you won 15 games when you went to the Super Bowl. You weren't like we don't need to all of a sudden act like it would be better to be a 10-win team that barely made the playoffs and threw the ball down the field. Like, let's not get crazy here. They will need to pivot this offseason and utilize that aspect and take advantage of it, that they have Xavier Worthy to stretch the field and figure out why on earth that did not happen sooner. I think offensive line play was a big part of that still.
It feels like they just ignored it, though. Like what Matt said, like Burrow is one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and he was slicing and dicing everywhere.
Here we go.
So why you ignored?
There were 9 games,
but you ignored what you had, is what Matt I think was saying. And I think there's a point.
He didn't have Jamar Chase. He didn't have the wide receiver.
But
weapons.
you had Xavier Worthy this whole time.
He's not Jamar Chase.
I know, but he's.
I love Worthy, but he's not a top 5
receiver.
receiver.
But he's proven multiple times over the back half of the season that you can take a shot and say, you know what, F it, I'm going to throw the ball and let the first round pick who has that 4.21 speed get the ball, and he did it multiple times. It's like they ignored what they had because they were content in just running the offense the way that they did.
They won 15 games.
I know, but they ignored a part of the offense that
they didn't think it mattered,
that they could have used in the first quarter or anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you're right. We did mention the deep passing all year. Like, hey, we would love to see it, but like, I do think
it's not like they didn't have anybody.
I understand, but while we mentioned it during the season, you did as well, that they should take some shots down the field early on, how frustrating it was. They were just missing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I get it. We all said that, but it is, to me, extremely hindsight 2020 to now say, like, well, how the hell did they not do it more? That's why they got blown out. Like, that's a little, that is hindsight being very, very 2020. They won 15 games, went to the Super Bowl, and they got their ass kicked, but it's not because they didn't take shots down the field all season.
But I think it's, to Matt's point, it's coaching, not looking at what you have as a unit and trying to utilize it to your advantage and waiting until it's too late and you're down by 30 to take advantage of something that you have in your offense. It's not like Xavier Worthy is a bum and they just decide, you know what, we're just going to take a shot because we're down by 30. He's capable of making those plays.
Right.
But they didn't use it. And not to say that I know, but not to say that it would have really affected the outcome of the game. But to Matt's point, if they lose and it's 27-24, are we sure that this isn't the same sort of style of offense that they just throw out next year and they aren't as aggressive?
Well, that's a different. That point is correct. I think that's a different. Saying that a blowout loss can cause you to rethink everything. Yeah, I agree with that in every sport. Like that, I'm not disagreeing with that. But acting like because they got blown out is the proof of why they screwed up all year when they won 15 games. I just firmly disagree.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Like, I'm with you that I think everybody, if you have a massive failure in what you do for a living, in this case, coaching football for Andy Reid,
you try to be different.
You're going to reevaluate what the hell did we do wrong? What did we not see? And yeah, I think part of that will be, hey, we got to, next year, if we want to be more explosive, Xavier Worthy has to be part of that. I don't think that's a wrong assessment. And if that's what you're saying, then I'm 100% with you. If you're saying, though, that they should have known all along and that this was coming in the Super Bowl and they were going to get blown out, like, that's BS, frankly.
Well, it's part of the issue of Andy's lack of aggressiveness throughout, and what Matt said about being the aggressor on offense. You dictate how defenses play you. You don't just say, well, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to deal with it, and we're going to dink and dunk, and we'll hope that Travis Kelce is good enough to go, and we're not going to take advantage of what the offense could be.
Yeah.
To me, that was the way that's what Matt said. I mean, that's the way it sounded. Well, is that they ignored their lack of aggressiveness came back to bite them in the way that they got content in how they should run the offense.
Yes, in the Super Bowl when they ran into a buzzsaw, correct. But they won, I don't know how many times, they won 15 games and went to the Super Bowl, dude. We can't act like it was, like clearly they just weren't good enough on that. In that game against the Eagles, personnel-wise, that defensive front destroyed them. We're acting like on the first 4 plays of the game, if they would have taken a deep shot, the game would have been much different. They couldn't do that. Later in the game, the Eagles, the same way we talked about effort from the Chiefs maybe looking different in the fourth quarter, do you think that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were playing at the exact same effort level on the Worthy deep pass as they were in the first quarter?
I wouldn't.
But we've been begging them all year to intricate it into a game plan, and they don't do. They are blatantly. They have ignored a segment of the offense that could be effective for them and give Patrick a break.
But I would make the argument that they did not ignore it. They couldn't do it because of their poor offensive line.
But Matt gave
I
the
think it might have been
example
more of a conscious decision.
But Matt gave the example of one team in particular that has a garbage offensive line that takes advantage and is aggressive and just says, Mahomes, we're going to let you throw it all over the yard.
Their defense gave up 60 points a game.
I know, but
Patrick
why
Mahomes
would you
scored 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards when his defense stunk too. The numbers don't matter in this situation.
But why would you take your foot off the gas pedal because your defense is really good?
That's what good teams do.
Andy Reid, he coached to win games, and they won 15 of them. That's as simple as I can say. They coached to win games, they won 15 of them. It obviously was not good enough in the Super Bowl. We all discussed on Monday and Tuesday that the game plan sucked. I'm with you. The game plan sucked in the Super Bowl. I also think they could have played it 5 times in a row, and because of their personnel deficiencies on the O-line, they were never winning that football game. I completely disagree, though, with like the just the notion that the Bengals put up. This isn't fantasy football. It's great that Jamar Chase had the Triple Crown this year. What do they have to show for that? Nothing.
I understand, but if that offense is as aggressive as, let's say, the Bengals, as Matt's point, as Matt used, if they're as aggressive as they are, and they say, Mahomes, you're the best quarterback in the league, we know this. We're going to let you make the decisions because you are smart. We're going to give you a game plan that allows you to go in multiple phases of the defense, stretch the field. You can make those throws. Why? Since they have a great defense, if they stretch the field and were aggressive, we might be talking about one of the best teams in NFL history in terms of them being able to do
They didn't lose
things.
the Super Bowl because they didn't take deep shots. I'm sorry.
I'm
they
not
lost
saying
because
that's what, to Matt's point, they were uber aggressive in letting their quarterback throw the ball all over the yard, not just
But the team's not the
evaluate.
same. Cincinnati's I would argue that Cincinnati's offensive line was actually better than Kansas City this year.
They were not.
And I would. They gave up a similar number of sacks per game. So, I don't know why it can't be on the table. If they give a similar number of sacks per game and Patrick Mahomes typically doesn't take sacks, it actually says more about Mahomes if that would be the case. And I'll be honest, as much as we talk about these teams or bad teams, Cincinnati's weapons were better. So they could be more aggressive just based on talent alone. We should break.
We are late again. Good discussion there.
This time.
Good discussion there. Up next, we'll get to what's trending. We'll read a couple of your texts on this as well and talk a little bit more about what's happening in New York with their quarterback situation.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Having unexpected car trouble or just in a car accident? You need Jay's Southland Tow Service. They have over 20 years of experience servicing the KC Metro. They specialize in light, medium, and heavy duty, as well as commercial transport and construction equipment. Keep this number handy, 816-779-4869 or southlandtow.com. Use the tow service trusted by most local police departments, Jay's Southland Tow Service. There's nothing they can't do, so be in the know and use Jay's Southland Tow.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
There are a ton of ways to kick off your day. Gym grind, endless scroll, or snooze button life. But McDonald's has a deal that levels up your morning above the rest. Now at McDonald's, mix and match your choice of a fluffy sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles and sizzly sausage McMuffin with egg for just $5. With a deal this fire, there's no better way to upgrade your mornings than with a delicious breakfast. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with a sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 16, powered by Intel Core Ultra processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, our EV trucking company is officially in operation.
Andrew's zero-emission trucks are driving the transportation category forward.
We'll make driving safer, easier, and less stressful.
Now our technology needs to keep up with demand.
He needs to put pedal to the metal on hiring more software engineers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's trending on Cody and Gold is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Number one on What's Trending has been the comments from Travis Kelce from his New Heights podcast. We played some of the audio earlier. We've been asking our guests throughout the show their take on it. He was very honest about he's going to give it some time, a few more weeks to decide what his future is. Acknowledge that there were some times during the season where it was kind of driving him crazy, just like the grind of an NFL season. And that's something that he has to make sure that he's not half-assing it, that he can be there 100% for his teammates. That is all going to be part of the decision-making process for him. And the roster bonus that he's due is right around the league year. So, could be a couple weeks away before we have any more insight.
Next on What's Trending, pitchers and catchers report today in surprise Arizona. So thank you, Chiefs, for tightening up the window between that and baseball. Alec Marsh had right shoulder tightness this offseason, so he's throwing. Be a little delayed in facing hitters out there in spring training. And James MacArthur, who had right elbow surgery this offseason, will be starting his throwing program late as well. So could have an impact on the back end of the rotation. Could have an impact on who starts in the bullpen, certainly. But those guys are expected to probably still make an appearance at some point in spring training, but you won't hear those names early on.
Next on What's Trending, college basketball, Kansas State got a 73-70 win over top 25 Arizona. That's 6 wins in a row for the Wildcats.
4 against top 25 teams.
With, 6 games or so to go. They're 13-11, making a little bit of a run. We ran out of time. We went late. We were going to talk more about K-State in that last segment. Maybe we'll work that in here after What's Trending a little bit more. But also, KU got a win against Colorado, 71-59 in Lawrence yesterday.
Lastly on What's Trending, Ohio State is to finalize a deal to bring in Matt Patricia as their new defensive coordinator. As correctly pointed out by Charles McDonald over on Twitter, he has failed literally everywhere he's been. How does he keep getting a job? I didn't realize. I went through his resume. When he was the guy in charge of the defense by himself in New England, it went terribly. When he was a head coach, it went terribly. When he went back to be the offensive coordinator in New England, it went terribly. He's never been successful. How the hell does he keep getting jobs? He hasn't been successful in 10 years. That's a big job, defensive coordinator of Ohio State. They're the defending national champions. That's all.
He'll have a major talent advantage over most people, too.
Shocked. Vrabel didn't go his way, He didn't bring him in as a defensive coordinator.
Well, the thought there was
full circle.
The thought was more if Ryan Day got fired, that Vrabel maybe would take the Ohio State job. Remember, that was way before they went on the run, obviously.
I do remember that.
That is What's Trending.
He got a big boy job, an NFL job.
Here on Cody and Gold. Real quick, since we mentioned K-State, then we'll get to the Aaron Rodgers stuff for a second. K-State, they've won 6 in a row. They dug themselves such a hole that they still have plenty of work cut out for, but they're playing better than anybody else in college basketball as it sits right now in middle of February. Now, upcoming games for them, if you're wondering. So they'll take on BYU on Saturday. Then they're at Utah, host Arizona State, at UCF. Those are all very winnable games. Hosting Colorado, winnable. At Cincinnati, winnable. And then they wrap it up with a team they already beat in upset fashion. This time in Manhattan, they'll take on number 10 Iowa State to wrap up the regular season. So what is that? 6 games left. If they win all 6,
14 wins now, so they can
13,
get to
right? Aren't they at 13? Maybe 13 and 11. Yeah, 13 and 11. They're 7-6 in conference play. Let's say so they run the table, which would be another top 10 win. That's a big ask, but let's say they did that. That gets them to 19 and 11 entering the Big 12 tournament. Andy had 5 top 25 wins and another top 10 win under that scenario.
What?
The path to get there, if they do that, they don't have to win the Big 12.
Correct.
If they do that, they maybe don't have to win like 1 game in the Big 12 tournament, depending on how soft the bubble is there. Now, if they drop another game or 2 prior, then I think they're back in position where they would have to get to a Big 12 title game.
At least. And that's
if not winning.
And that's unfortunately the problem they've put themselves in, as you mentioned. What stood out to me last night, and the reason why they are playing the best basketball is they didn't even play that good last night. I watched a good chunk of the game. They did not even play well. Shot the 3 poorly, didn't take care of it the way they took care of it against Kansas, in which they essentially had no turnovers for 2 halves and kind of controlled that game from start to finish. But Didn't matter. McDaniel was still great. They got contributions from multiple other guys on the roster. And again, you don't accidentally win 6 in a row and 4 against ranked opponents, especially ranked opponents on the road. Like, you didn't have all these games weren't just like in the comfort of Bramlage. They had to go on the road for half of them. They had to beat Iowa State at Iowa State. So, like, I do think there'll be some committee members that if they got to 19 wins would be like, but that team's as dangerous as anybody. And we know that they say that it's supposed to just be resume. They're going to have the quad 1, quad 2 stuff because of all these ranked opponents. And you'll just be like, damn, they can beat anybody. They can beat a team that we're going to put as a 2 seed in Iowa State. They can beat Kansas, who we're going to put as a 3 or a 4 seed. They can beat it. Like, they're going to look at it and have a hard time not wanting to put them in. But they can't go like 4-2 or 3-3 in the final 6. They got to win 5 or 6 of these final 6.
They almost have to be perfect. Yeah, they still. I mean, if you look at the latest bracketology stuff, like, where Lenardi will show like the last 4 in, and then the first 4 out, and the next 4 out. They're not anywhere near that right now. Like, they're not listed on that kind of stuff now. Some of the teams that are listed as first 4 out, next 4 out, those are teams like North Carolina and Arkansas who already have, I think, 16 or 17 wins, whereas K-State's sitting at 13. Now we can get into like who has more impressive, but you're not going to be a 17-win tournament team, right? So like you're going to have to get to that 18-20 mark entering the Big 12 tournament, 18-20 range entering the Big 12 tourney, and then depending on which number you're at, and was one of those wins against Iowa State again at the last game of the season, can you get to the semifinals of the Big 12 championship? Can you get to a finals of that?
I'd like all 3 locals to make the tournament. It makes it for way more fun on the air, and then you get to kind of see who goes where, if they get lined up in the brackets together, all this stuff. I fear this is starting to reek like Kansas football's season, which was screw everything up for months and months and months, get white hot, losing the first round of the Big 12 tournament, and then they tell you can't go to the party anyway. And I hope it doesn't happen for K-State's sake. This is the problem with starting a season slow. One little oopsie later on in the year on a Wednesday or a Thursday. I guess maybe it's like Tuesday or Wednesday game now. The Big 12 tournament's got more teams now, so I forget when it starts. But one little screw up in the early part of the tournament, you got problems. Because you're right. Right now, as it sits, Kansas State's one of the 25 best teams in the country right now. As they're playing, as they're constructed, they are one of the 25 best teams in the country. All the losses that they lost earlier in the year are holding them back in that regard, or they'd be ranked the same as Kansas or Missouri. They're just as good as those teams right now, the way that they're playing.
Yeah, but this is why they play a full college basketball season.
But yeah, you're right. like you don't get to just take November off. You don't get to just take December off. You have to play good basketball long before you get to this point. So I hope for their sake it doesn't end the way I thought. Kansas football should have been a bowl team, should have competed for some real stuff, should have been a hard out for a lot of teams, but blew it for a huge chunk of their season, then try to make it all up at the end just to come up short.
So conference-wise, 7 wins. They have a chance. If they go on the run that they're on right now and continue, they could finish in the top 5 of the Big 12, based off of just the conference record. Because they're tied with Baylor and BYU at 7-6. They're conference record-wise only 1 worse than Kansas. They're two back of Iowa State even.
Yeah, they're close. Well, they've beaten again. They've got to play Iowa State again, and I don't think that's an easy one. Just because you won the first one, I wouldn't just pencil in win 2. And they had to claw and scratch and fight for that Arizona win. Because they didn't shoot the ball well from 3 for a huge chunk of that game, they were in kind of a dogfight when it didn't feel like it needed to be one. But they won, so it doesn't matter, and you get the credit for it. But yeah, they're one of the most interesting teams the rest of the way in college basketball. Because if they had just won like 2 or 3 more, not even like a crazy amount, 2 more games in November and December total. Oh, yeah. So like 1 each month. They're definitely a bubble team and a team we discuss in the tournament and a team who's getting hot, in February. A decent time to get hot in college basketball. Obviously, March is better. But like if you're going to play good basketball, this is around the time you want to start doing it. Versus Kansas, I'll be honest. I watched part of that Kansas game last night. That team is playing the most uninspired basketball I've seen out of Kansas in like a decade. It is awful product to consume right now.
Absolutely. I was going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but did you guys see the news that just came out this afternoon? So did you see the video last night circulating with John Rocker and Pat Mahomes Sr.?
I did.
Okay, right. Like they're in the middle. And John Rocker's been Mr. Roid Rage his entire life. He was on Bourbon Street, and I guess somehow there was some altercation. They were yelling at each other and whatever. Barstool just announced, this is real, I swear. The paperwork has been signed. Pat Mahomes Sr. versus John Rocker at Rough and Rowdy, April 19th, which is like their, amateur, fighting thing that they do at Barstool.
Why?
I don't know. Well, money. I think I don't know if they get it when the contract when it's signed or if they get it when they actually win. But that is a win for Barstool because now people are going to talk about it, I guess. But John Rocker, they were back and forth on Twitter yesterday too, arguing with each other. It was ugly. A little ugly.
Yeah. I mean, he sucked forever.
Pat Mahomes Sr. said, "You really haven't changed one bit in the last 25 years. Keep my name out of your loud mouth." To him.
Dude,
this is happening, I guess.
Pat, dude, pay your dad whatever he's getting paid by Barstool not to do this.
Yeah.
Don't let him get in a ring with John Rocker.
He signed the paperwork. Paperwork was signed. Dave Portnoy just put out a video. Like, this is not some made up thing.
I did see them arguing on the streets of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I hadn't thought of the name John Rocker in so long.
Oh.
Do you even know who John Rocker is? Are you familiar with that as a person?
No.
Okay.
In fairness,
that's outside of the cultural.
We were very young when he was playing, man.
Well, I remember all the John Rocker stuff, but I'm like 6 years older than you. So
He's 50 years old now.
He played baseball.
Yes. yeah. He's 50. He's 50.
I gathered that from the conversation.
He was like a big roided up muscle man who for a while caught some attention because he was essentially like the Eastbound and Down version of an actual person, right? If you've seen that show with Danny McBride. He was essentially that. He was just like American fireworks, and he was all like jacked up and energetic and kind of nuts. And so people kind of like, he caught a little, media attention because of that. Now he's just.
Yeah, like he was never an all-star. He never was reliever of the year. He was just his personality is what got him a lot of attention. He had a couple nice years in the league. He had his first 3 years sub-3 ERA, sub-2.5 ERA, I guess it was. And then he stopped playing at the age of 28 in 2003. He played 6 years in the big leagues. But yes, for whatever reason, he was down on Bourbon Street, like everybody was. And
Could you imagine you just walking down Bourbon Street, Gold? You and I had gone down there, and all of a sudden, like John Rocker and Pat Mahomes Sr. just yelling at each other, like, what the hell am I watching right now?
I would be very confused is what would happen.
The hell is, I wouldn't honestly know it was John Rocker right away.
Very, very confused.
I wouldn't know it was John Rocker.
Someone says they think the whole thing was staged. Who knows? I mean,
staged, really? I mean, it looked like a pretty real. I mean, now that they're boxing, maybe.
Well, yeah, now I'm sure they're just like, now they might be doing when they realize there's money. But on Bourbon Street, it kind of seemed like it was,
They're saying maybe it was staged to set up this fight. I mean, I guess that's possible, but I have a harder time imagining that. All right, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers because we didn't get to it today, and we wanted to talk about it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
You seem very proud of Aaron Glenn because we spent plenty of time making fun of the Jets organization for real reasons that they are a trash franchise. I was stunned when I saw the same report you did, which was when Aaron Glenn invited Aaron Rodgers to his little meeting to decide whether or not they were going to move forward with him, he told him no more Pat McAfee interview.
Yeah, that was one
no
of
more
reportedly.
Now, there was reportedly a lot of things that they were going to want out of him, but that was one of them. I can't believe he actually said it. Kind of good for him, right? For being like, hey, we don't want the distractions, but surprised.
I just wouldn't bring him back because he's not a good quarterback at this point in time, but this was their way of making it seem a little bit more like, all right, well, he had a choice. We kind of would have, like from a PR perspective, we would have kind of let him come back, but he decided not to follow kind of what we were wanting to do. But Aaron Glenn, you have to change the entire culture there. Robert Saleh got ran all over by Aaron Rodgers and others in that organization. He had no control. So now Aaron Glenn comes in and he's setting the tone immediately. Now he has to find a quarterback still if it's going to work, but he's setting the tone immediately. Like, nope, nobody is going to just do whatever the hell they want because their name is Aaron Rodgers or their name is whoever. I'm in charge kind of thing. And I think that is where I like the start already for Aaron Glenn. He had that press conference when reporters were asking like what kind of coach he is. And they're like, are you like Bill Parcells because you've got connections? He's like, I'm Aaron Glenn. He's like, I'm going to be Aaron Glenn. Like, I like his whole vibe. Will it work out? He's got to find a quarterback. But, yeah, good for him. No more of this, like, you're just going to do whatever you want because you used to be really good.
It actually kind of makes Saleh look, more than it makes Aaron Glenn look good, it makes Robert Saleh look like a coward. Could you not stand up to any of this at any point? He was railroading your entire organization, and you just, like, stood idly by while he just, like, went and did TV interviews and bashed it. And I get it. Like, Andy Reid is pretty much like anti-media if he can avoid it for his players, right? Like if he had a choice, even Travis Kelce wouldn't do New Heights. Now, you can get big enough that you're kind of outside of that, which Aaron Rodgers obviously was. But Travis Kelce doesn't go on there and start bad-mouthing every member of the organization or the team or all the other ludicrous like stuff he says of all kinds of nature. Like, you can't have it. Like, if you're Aaron Glenn, you got to kind of start from scratch. There's been a lot of weird sounds.
What's going on in the building?
Gold's looking around. I'm just hearing like hammering or something. Well, they were at some point working on the HVAC. But then you and I heard like a loud thud earlier, and I wasn't sure what it was from. You had any idea what that was?
I know they were still working on like the generator, weren't they? I don't think today, but there was some other work going on.
Somebody's working on this closet on the HVAC system. Look at the whole panel off for like an air duct. Drew's looking at me like maybe he knows what's going on.
Well, no, I don't.
Drew, are you handy?
I agree with what you're saying.
Are you handy? Like, can you fix things?
No, not very well.
Okay, I know Alex is not handy. We've discussed that on the show before.
Established that.
Like when we were on the bullpen earlier talking to Grayson about the car stuff, I'm interested in that stuff. I think it's fun would be fun to learn that stuff. I don't know how to fix things very well.
But some of those things you can fix. Our nice colleague over at KMBZ was offering to help Alex with his brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he did.
Was that just
you can change your own oil?
Yeah,
you can,
yeah. He's like, how long do you want to wait? He's like, when it warms up, I'll just do it. I was like, well, if I can wait that long, then I might take you up on that for the front. I need some new front rotors. So, yeah. If not, I'll just go and pay for it. But
you're not going to. So his conversation didn't convince you. You know what? Maybe I should get these hands a little dirty. I should get in there and take these brakes up. Because, like, I could change your rotors.
Some things are just worth the money.
I don't disagree with that. I do think that there's my time has value, and sometimes that matters.
I don't know if we want to bring this up at the end of the show, but there's some bad allegations out there around Kadarius Toney that just came out from TMZ. So,
oh no, I didn't see it.
According to police, I'll just read you the headline. Kadarius Toney arrested. Cops say he strangled a woman.
Jesus.
This is from TMZ. Two-time Super Bowl champion Kadarius Toney was arrested last week over allegations. He strangled a woman, according to police documents we obtained. This is TMZ. The former Chiefs wide receiver was accused of putting his hands around a woman's throat during a dispute at a Georgia residence on January 14th and, quote, squeezing with enough force to cause her to be unable to breathe. Docs state the alleged attack left the woman with red marks on her neck and issues with her eyes. Additionally, authorities wrote in documents that he took the woman's from her during the altercation in order to prevent her from dialing 911. Those are the allegations. He is out on bond, $25,000 on each count. That'll be something to keep
That'll be the end of his NFL career.
If that's true, yeah. If that's the case. Anyway, just saw that come across. That'll do it for us today. You're out tomorrow. You're back next Tuesday because we have the President's Day hot. Bink, I believe, depending on the weather, going to be in with Drew and I.
Seems like it stopped snowing, so we're probably good.
I think Bink will be in with us tomorrow. We'll obviously get his perspective on the offseason and maybe just a little mock draftish just because Bink's in. That's coming up tomorrow. The Drive up next.